Good evening, it is 7:36, we're gonna say the pledge and get into the meeting. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, do we have any announcements? I'm hearing the no. On this side, trustee Pritchett, is he coming in on Zoom? Does anybody know? He wasn't feeling well, so, okay, I'm gonna go with a no on that one. All righty, guess we can get started. Village manager.
Reaching the microphone.
Yeah.
There we go. So we have, it is now officially, we're into second quarter. And we did have our first quarter, project and budget review. I am gonna, ask that Gail go first this time, because I think that some of the most salient information is on the budget that we have. Hopefully good news there, and then I will do a review of the major projects and things that we're doing in the planning front, and with that, I'd like to turn it over to our treasurer, Gail Brennan.
I think you need to say, because in the past 2 times we ran out of time. It was like midnight or something like that, so we're going first. Okay. I like it. I do.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, Jen. How are we today? Nice and. Understood.
We're always good when we get to see you.
Appreciate that. Jamie is going to handle the PowerPoint presentation, little magnifying glass. No, Jamie, you gotta show my magnifying glass coming in. I couldn't find the balancing.
Trying to be the PD.
Yeah. Okay, so this is just a little review of what the 2026.
Do we have that in front of us? Is this what you handed out, or is this separate? from
This
what
is
we
the
had?
PowerPoint. That was
Okay, so
email.
it's separate from this.
It's separate from the
Okay.
memo with 2025.
Got it.
We're gonna start with 2026, and then after Karen's presentation, I guess we'll go backwards to 2025.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah, go ahead.
okay, so our 2026 Village of Ossining budget that was adopted included 46,870,211 appropriations and revenues for the general fund. 16,395,241 for water, 2,112,268 for sewer. Section 8 program was 4,147,688, and debt service was 3,375,198. As we go to the next slide, we're just going to touch on fund balance, which is also part of the 2025 memo that I had submitted. But here's just a little quick review of the past 3 years of unassigned or unallocated or unappropriated or assigned when you get to water or sewer fund. But basically, these are the funds that are not tied to anything and can be used towards capital projects, for budget gaps, for potential over expenditures that may occur, as we will talk about as we move forward in this presentation. Unexpected emergencies, again, that we've encountered already with the blizzard this year. So that's why it's important to keep a healthy fund balance, and it's also there to be used for cash flow purposes.
Talk to me a little bit about, if you're gonna do this later, about the way the funding is for the snow emergency. And if I heard it correctly, we became eligible for possible potential refunds. So are you gonna cover that, or is that a different topic?
It's part of the presentation, but we can
Okay.
touch on it now.
No, that's fine.
Or
Keep
we can
going.
touch on it then.
No, stay, I just want to make
Okay.
sure we get it
Yes,
covered, just
yes,
right away.
yes,
Okay.
we absolutely will.
Okay.
So as you can see in 2023, Our fund balances were, about 15.5 million in general fund, about 11 million in water, and then almost not quite reaching 3 in, the sewer fund, 2024. General fund did increase, slightly, to 16,000,018. We had appropriated, a good amount of funds towards the DRI projects, in 2024, as well as in 2025. In 2025, we appropriated 3.882 million towards, the multimodal parking hub. In 2024, we had appropriated 3 million of fund balance to the multimodal parking hub, which lowers our debt service that we will have to actually borrow this year in September when we go out to market. We're slated to borrow 7.5 million for the parking, the multimodal parking garage. That equates to about a $600,000 bond payment that will come on board in 2027. We do have a 2015 bond that's going to be retired, which is going to offer us an offset towards that 600,000 that we're planning on. We were also hoping to get additional parking revenue in, parking garage that allows us to have more spaces available for sale. So that was part of the financing budget for supporting the debt payment. And a few other ideas as we go along. But another idea is to retire some of our shorter term band borrowings that we have instead of bringing them over to a bond. We have a couple of projects for the police radios and the fire radios that we did borrow for 2 years ago. But they only have a 5-year life. So this year, as Moody's keeps asking, are you going to roll your items into a bond, your older ones? Yes, we would like to do so, but I don't want to roll anything in with a life of 5 years because it's going to lessen the life of everything else that's in that bond. So you really want to keep it to 15 years, 20 years, when you roll, that way you get the most out of your borrow. So we'll talk about that more as we get towards, having to go to market and, figure out that funding plan and especially see where we are after our second quarter review, because that will give us a better feel, of where we stand.
Do you want us to ask questions as we go, or do you want us to?
Yeah, sure.
So if we don't take the ban and put it on, and we don't put it onto a bond, does that mean we have to pay off the expense? Is there cash out if we do that?
We would still borrow for the multimodal parking.
Right, but you're saying like the ban,
There are
like the
other-
stuff that's on the short term,
Right,
right?
right.
If that doesn't get rolled over,
Mhm.
where does that expense go? Do we have to pay it off?
There are some that are reaching their limit we had a extra 2 years with the COVID, unfortunately happening. But that is coming to an end.
Okay,
Yes, so those will either have to be paid off or rolled over.
Okay.
Like this, in 2025, we paid off, the 2019 portions of the ban so that we didn't have to roll into a bond.
okay,
And we actually used money earned from our debt service funds, capital funds that we have, because we haven't expended them to earning interest earnings on. I just took that interest earnings and I used it to pay them off. So make our money work for us,
Okay.
right?
okay.
That way, now we're not paying interest on the ban anymore going forward. It's gone, we don't have to roll it, and we're not taking those lesser years now into account when we go to borrow, because now where it would normally be a 5-year or 4-year, when you're rolling into a bond, you now basically had 7 years off of a useful life.
Okay.
Because it comes off the life. So that's why it's a little bit of a structuring thing to make sure we're getting the best, use of our borrow and what we were gonna end up paying on, in the future.
in 5 years is the cutoff, is the time cutoff?
The, for a ban, yes,
Okay.
yes, it's reverted back, to 5 years. The water fund, had an unallocated fund balance, after the reduction of, our budgeted amount for 2026 of almost 4 million. So that helped to offset the water and sewer rate increases, for 2026, where we had an additional, ban payment come on for the 25 million that we borrowed in 2025. When we go forward into, this year, for borrowing purposes, with the payment first being due in 2027, I'm anticipating, having to borrow the basically potential balance of the project. I'm not gonna borrow the contingency fund that we didn't use. So I'm taking that out. We're going to have to borrow for, the WIA grant because we cannot draw down on that 10 million until the project is complete. There is the 5 million, forget which.
That's the WIA, the 10 million is the minutes and momentum, yeah.
Okay. The 10 million, you can't do anything with those, the 5 million, you can start drawing down, but there's different, progress parameters and such as that in there. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get by and not have to borrow that 5 million, we can actually start, getting, recouping that back now. But we'll get more into that as we get again closer, to having the borrow.
Yeah, I think when we go through the next iteration, it'd be helpful, like, for a project of that amount of money, to see all the puts and takes. Like the actual estimate of like if you're starting with, because I just heard you like, well, we're gonna do some of this and then we're gonna do some of that, and we're gonna flip stuff here, and like there's a time sequence there for a lot of the money.
Mhm.
For me, it'd just be helpful to kind of see that laid out a little bit more. Okay.
We have one, and.
Okay. I don't even know.
And we can share. We're good at sharing.
How about the plateaus, right, the milestones they
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm, right, I mean, with the water treatment project, they had a whole, listing, and I
Yeah.
had gone back to them and said, I need a cash flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Now-
That's kind of where.
Yes.
where I'm going with
So,
this, right?
understood, and then I had a cash flow analysis, not just for that project in itself, but for the water fund as a whole, for a 5-year span out, to make sure we were covered and able to support the borrow for it.
Yeah.
So that was
That's what I'm
also
talking about.
another,
Ultimately, it's all about
yeah,
making sure that at the end,
right,
we're not overselling
yes.
either cash out or debt service.
Right, and I don't wanna
Fundamentally, it's all about-
borrow more than we need at any given point.
Totally agree.
Because we're paying money to borrow
Yeah,
that.
no, totally.
So that's why I'm always monitoring to make sure, are we in line? Do I need to borrow what the cash flow projection said? Where it
Yeah.
turned out, no,
No, that
I didn't.
totally,
So,
understand.
so we definitely have a plan. It's a little,
I know, just because, I think the last time we kind of walked through it was when we were going through the budget,
Right.
which is like 6 months ago.
Mhm.
So just be a helpful
right,
refresher. So,
sure, yeah,
thanks.
no problem. So we.
Big numbers,
Oh, yeah, biggest I've ever seen, that's for sure.
not the biggest steps.
Are we moving ahead?
Sure, let's.
Yeah, I'll let Jamie know, I think is what she's done.
Yeah, we're still a slide
Alright.
behind you.
All right, click it, Jane. Okay, so this is basically, just an overview of, what happened to general water fund. For the changes to, unassigned or, in water fund, it is called assigned because it's that kind of fund. The only funds that actually have an unassigned fund balance are general fund and capital. The state control, you could ask them why, I'm not quite sure why the designation is different, but they equal the same definition wise. That they are not monies tied, to any given thing, at the moment. So in 2025, our changes came into general fund with revenues of 49,713,06. minus expenses of 51,108,90. At year end, I do have to do, balance sheet adjustments to account for prepaid expenses, reserves, the budget difference of allocation between 2025 and 26 rolling, and that took an additional $254,200 out of the fund balance side of the equation. So we did end up with a net result of 14,376,333. That is unaudited. The audit starts on that.
Oh, look at you.
Yes.
Oh, that's why those have this right, because it
Yeah.
coincides with the,
Mhm.
okay.
Yes, yes. The water fund, similar methodology here. We started,
I think we have to flip sides or.
this is the second one, the general.
Oh, it's the
fund.
next one.
Yeah, it's the water fund. So that's what they think. At the beginning of the year, we had 13,768,895. We had revenues come in of 16,183,592.
16.
16. Yep, million. Expenses of 15,995,607, and net fee for prepaid and encumbered reserves. And the budget, 2026, that took out an additional 927,912, but that is because we did use a portion of fund balance to, help with the budget to keep the rates at 5% increase, for 2026. I would just like to make a word of note, because I've never seen this happen before. When we budgeted for the water fund revenues for metered water, so your village resident water and your town outside resident water for 2025, which was around 14 million, let's say, when we did our final calculations and we brought back our accrued revenues, we were under budget by $6,883. That was pretty good.
Good call.
Nice. Never seen that happen. That was like.
That excited.
I was so excited. I mean.
There's a lot of excitement that happens here.
Mhm.
Forecaster.
Mhm.
That's well what it is.
Mhm.
It's good, it's good.
Yes,
Well done,
so, thank you.
well done.
It
is.
No, I was very glad that we were that close. I would have liked to have been a little over, but, I'll take it as a win. Okay, so next slide is going to be, first quarter of 2026. So these are, all of our revenues, by, type. To a point, because when it comes to department income, we do it by, function. And so that's why you'll see over, on the right, it'll give you some little, crib notes. The first line is real property taxes. Since we are a modified accrual basis of accounting, we do recognize, the full tax warrant as of January 1st. We create a receivable. That receivable is then drawn down as we collect our taxes during the year at fiscal year end with 2 months of subsequent collection. So at the end of February, we go back and we take a look and we see what amount have we not collected in taxes that we now have to take out of our current revenue to feed our liabilities to cover the amount that we have not collected in taxes. This year, I was surprised by this too, because for another entity, I had to take monies out of tax revenue to cover that uncollected amount. For the village, I actually was able to bring back in, I think it was about $38,000 into tax revenue, which is good, because it means people are paying. And so our receivable at year end is less than the year before. Pilot payments, those bills were actually just sent out. They get sent out in April. because they coincide, with the county tax bill. And that goes out, so we will start seeing, those revenues come in the second quarter. Non-property tax items, is our biggest, revenue line outside of our tax proper itself, which is where sales tax, resides.
Sales tax from what?
Uh,
County, sales tax
from the county, so, and it's based on population, so depending on how much people are spending on.
Where is sales tax from just all the stores around here and?
I think it's countywide. It all
countywide.
goes into the county
It's
bucket.
countywide,
All goes from here to county and then county back to
and then
us,
it's
Based on
allocated
population.
on
based on population.
population.
But the
That's correct.
cities have their own jam,
Yes,
right? So
the
the cities
cities
don't go
are
in the
a whole
bucket, and the
different-
towns and villages.
Yeah.
Towns and villages.
Mhm.
So the cannabis, any of the, what's this?
We'll get to that. Cause that was another exciting
I'm
thing.
interested in the village and the town conversation.
50/50.
I know, so I just want to see
Yeah.
how everything that's a little.
Yeah, when we get to the
Okay.
next slide, we'll touch on that. And we'll also touch on a little more with the sales tax. But now we'll go just down to our department income. It's a little early in the year for some of these because they sometimes don't vibe up until, the summer months, like building inspection fees. Parking, station parking is mostly all at the beginning of the year, train station, obviously. But meters are all year long, so that's still going to come in. Municipal parking, there's more information on the second slide for that, but we seem to be strong and okay, in our parking revenues. Recreation youth programs, their budget, they've reached 46%, with day camp revenues, reaching already 60% before we even get there. I think they just opened registration
Well,
for day camp.
people get in on that camp website
Mm-hmm.
as soon as it opens.
Yep, so that's
Best
great.
deal in the county.
Yeah,
It's like a World
Yeah.
Cup ticket.
it's strong, it's very strong. We've done, 1 of 4 quarters, for our dumpster billing, so, and we do have a few other revenues that come in with, home and community and governmental charges. So that revenue lines seem to be okay. Our IMA amounts our police IMA, as in accordance with the, police IMA agreement. We do not charge them for the first 5 months of the year until May. Because they're not getting their tax revenue in until April, so that helps offset, for them not to be worried about cash flow in that regard. Interest earnings remain strong at this point for 2025. We earned in the general fund, I think it was about 350,000 over our budget amount. So even though interest rates are going down, we've always been conservative about how much we budget to not get into a jam because they are eventually going to come down.
Is the amount though in the banks about the same as last year?
It is.
Okay.
Mhm. It may have changed funds, like in the case
Doesn't matter,
of
but
general
if you use
to,
like 15,
Mhm.
you can use 11, 15, whatever the
Right.
number is. I know some of the banks have closed up, whatever, so let's
Mhm.
call it a dozen,
right,
but the balance is about the same.
it's about the same.
Okay.
And the interest rates, right now are running, for an investment, account about 3.55%. So
Pretty good.
not horrible,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah. So I'm hoping when we go to the bond market, that it's more favorable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
on-
cash
on that
cow for the
side.
banks, I mean, it's not.
Mhm.
it's not a lot of time.
Right. License and permits, so this is building department permits, which again ramp up. More seasonal, weather, street opening permits, same. Cause that's, well, justice court fines, I was able to sneak in, we got February's in, so I changed that from the original presentation, but they're, running, true to budget, which is good. Insurance recoveries, arch rebates, there's always a lag, on those, so we're not going to see. We'll probably see a little activity in the second quarter. I can't figure out how to read my phone, I'm sorry. Because they're, especially with going with the new RX, provider, there's gonna be even more of a lag, because it always takes them, it seems like 9 months, the first round to catch up, to get our rebates. So we'll get that. It's just gonna become,
we charging them interest or holding money for 9 months?
we can look into that.
Seriously. I'll believe it.
I totally agree with you. So miscellaneous, so this is, where we put our youth bureau, our local grants, Medicare, Part D reimbursement that we receive. And that we usually don't receive until February, March, of the following year, because that's an annual, thing. Excuse my allergies. So next one down is mortgage tax. The first half will be received in June. Thank you. AIM is received in September. And then we have assorted youth bureau, state grants out there too, that we will draw down, during the year. Federal revenues, this line is for, when we submit for reimbursement for the body armor. So that's a one-time, deal on there. Interfund transfers, this is the amount that the service, brings over to the general fund to help offset, debt payments within the budget itself. And then appropriated fund balance, this is the board approved during the budget process. And we want to allocate towards the 2026. All right, next slide. Okay, so first quarter sales tax revenue projections were received, and they are 7.18% higher in the first quarter of 2026 compared to 2025. So the estimated increase for the first quarter over last year was 133,000. Budget-wise, last year at year end for sales tax, we received approximately 1 million more than budgeted for the year. So that was a big help in not using as much fund balance as we planned to. It helped to offset that. Projecting using the first quarter figure and the next 3 quarters remaining flat. My estimate is 930,000 to be received over budget. So we'll keep an eye, as we always do, because you just never know with sales tax. Train station permits, on target for budget, there was 220,000 received and 240,000 budgeted. Parking meter revenues are on track at 25% and muni permits are at 38%. Recreation revenues to date are at 590,000 of 1.288. Budgeted, as I touched on before, day camp revenues total 60% of the 450,000 that we budgeted just for day camp in itself. Cannabis tax revenues to materialize in 2026. 2025 revenues we received for 9 days of activity totaled $1,561.
So that's the village portion.
That's the village portion.
Right.
Town got the same portion.
So in 2026, you don't have any numbers. yet.
No, because we really aren't going to know. I would say, or not even, the first quarter is gonna give a better window, obviously,
So we are on the first.
but we have not received it. It takes,
Got it.
yes,
Because 11:30 was the end of the quarter that we
Mhm.
just got reporting for, like
Yeah.
a month ago.
right,
So we're on an incredible
yeah.
lag.
You're really important.
And 11:30 was the date of that report, and our first dispensary opened 9 days prior to that report. So
Mhm.
we were able to really, in a granular way, figure out exactly how much, so we can sort of extrapolate forward to some degree.
Right.
I wouldn't
No,
Well,
It would
I-
take 5 days.
Well, I also understand that, opening days is gonna be big, opening weekend, things like that, and also the more of the same business, not just in our community, but across Westchester County, that amount will diffuse over time. But we thought that was a really interesting, sort of number to call out, if it's even remotely indicative.
What did we budget for?
we
Nothing.
didn't.
Right, so this is basically 1,000 a day, but Stuart Devon sent out the reading material. About cannabis, and it did have like an average sort of revenue tax collection.
Yeah, it's like, but the average, like, revenue, I think, per dispensary was like 3.5. I think it's 3.5, what was it, 3.5 million?
No,
Many of the loss.
Yeah.
well,
Many of the loss.
one went bankrupt, I guess.
Mhm.
So it's still early and.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. Right.
okay,
And I have spoken with other entities, but they also they're new too, so. it's
yeah,
hard to-
Tarrytown has one in the town, and they have a number actually, for water work. It doesn't matter to us, we'll see what it is.
Right.
It's just, it's the,
Right. Mhm.
once we get it, and we'll start
Right.
running it, it's more
Mhm.
curiosity, that's all.
Yes, yes. So I did email them though, the county, to see if they could send me, because there's no supporting documentation. You know, you just kind of.
Just check the book.
You got an email that says.
Basically,
So.
You don't know where it come from.
Which is fine, but you know,
I'm surprised it's not attached to a pigeon and lands on your windowsill.
you know, yeah. So being this was our first quarter, I was curious to see, is there anywhere to get the information? Is there anybody? Is
We'll
it?
get it.
Yeah,
Just
but-
curious.
right.
Okay.
Okay, next, any, we're good on this one? Next slide? Okay, so this is, just a global view, of the last, 3 years of, total general fund, budget and first, quarter, expenditures. In comparison, we run about the same, we're pretty consistent from year to year, which is good thing. The next slide is our fantastic corporation council slide. Get out the popcorn, Stuart. All right, so, corporation council judgments and claims, at this point for the first quarter is at to 27.5% of budget, expended, but labor and special counsel are only at 10%. Although those, bills do seem to lag, at times. But again, Stewart's budgeted expenses, are in line, with prior years, and we don't see any, concerns at this time. Okay, next slide is our fantastic as well police department. Their first quarter expenses are at 22.4% of budget, which is also in line, with prior years. The police department, does have, assorted payroll expenditures that actually don't get paid out until the end of the year. So that's why, you'll see as you go along, okay, it's lower, than, a 25%, but that's only because it'll get made up for, at the end of the year, basically. They do currently have one, vacancy, that they are, canvassing for. So, that should, be billed for, the training in July, I believe. The academy. Okay,
I mean, it's going up every year, 1.5% or so, right?
well, 2026 is the first year that we had the actual raises within the
Yeah.
police department budget itself. Because they.
It's
were-
on budget, but our
Yes.
budget went up, so.
Right.
Okay,
Mhm,
That's fine.
because it was previously over in contingency,
yeah,
or most of it, let's say. Not all, of it.
that's 3% from 2024 to 2026, year to date, I mean, that's.
Right.
Okay,
Mhm.
And we've made all the back pay adjustments.
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
included, so that's good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, 2025 included
Right,
all the
Because-
retro, the power retro.
because Dale keeps talking about against budget, and the budget included all.
Yeah, it's, just check.
This
Right,
is a presentation of, let's not have any surprises.
we try not to.
Okay.
And we also, I did do an entry for accrued liability for, the police retirement bill.
Oh,
Because that's going too bad, they're not gonna know that we paid retro, in December of this year when we had to pay the invoice in December of this year. So I do have an accrued liability on the books that takes an amount to then put towards the bill we now get in September to get paid in this coming December. Which will have now the adjustment for all those retro, payments that were made. So we should would be covered, for any surprises, there as well. The next slide is the fire department. So fire department first quarter expenses, are 13.7 of budget, which is also again in line, with prior years. The setup of the LoSAP operational component is in the final stages, with installing, the equipment holders and the apparatus. And they did, generate their first quarter reports, which I had a chance to look at and speak, with them about, which is great. They seem
do you have
to,
somebody in your departments that's being assigned to the whole LoSAP narrative,
not at
or is it just you?
this point,
Okay,
yes. But it will be me and Liz McCarty who have access, to the program. So they're still working on that end of it. Yeah.
But the reporting is very robust. I think we
Yeah.
were surprised at how
Mhm.
detailed, we
Yeah.
were able to see very easily.
Yes, yes, and that they have checked the balances,
yeah, I was gonna say, who's auditing,
checked the balances.
so they have,
Mhm,
we're gonna have to have somebody go out and audit at some point.
mhm.
Actually, it's required. I think it was required as part of the agreement.
It was,
I think so, yeah, because they have,
great. Check that out.
that's what my recollection is.
Yeah. And that was in the thing we signed a couple weeks ago.
Okay. I have a question mark, but if you remember it that way, even better, yeah, for us.
Mhm. Now, is that
So-
audited by our independent auditors? Cause,
There
yes,
is a third party on
yes,
Great,
mhm,
that we take.
yes.
well, of
And
course.
I've already, I did notify them
Great,
that it was coming on board.
fabulous.
Yeah.
So they
So it
are,
would be actually, I would be interested, not here, but not, don't talk about it tonight, but, seeing what some of that reporting looks like on the, like, points accrued
right,
by person, by quarter.
yes,
Cause I wanna see if there's a huge jump.
Right, so here's the other thing, if you could just whiteboard this on the imaginary whiteboard. 5 trustees all have different desires and needs, some like top line, some want details. I don't think we have to elongate this like in the next quarter with more and more. I think if you write down who wants what, let's give that person, and if others want it, just ask who wants this, because you know, like, everybody has different way of processing, right? Information.
of course.
LoSAP, because it's new, I think might require maybe a separate little workstation, works that you say, okay, this is just LoSAP.
Right, right.
Because it's new.
Oh, yeah.
Cannabis, maybe
Mhm.
a year from now, we need a little something that says,
Mhm.
here's where we are, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But don't, I hear you saying yes, I just don't want you to now
Yeah,
elongate.
this doesn't need to be 40 pages to go.
Yeah, we don't need to elongate this presentation.
No, but I
Okay.
think, cause, Mike offered to, come. to the
Well, everyone
board.
wants to see it as well, I think
Yes.
it's important, okay,
Mhm.
next.
Okay, next slide is, building department. The building department, is under budget, for regular salary lines, and over time expenses, are 29% of budget. But due to 3 vacant
Right.
positions, so we're anticipating those to be filled.
Okay, well, They're not so small.
That's a whole nother discussion.
Oh,
Might
that's a
take
part
a
two
long-
discussion.
That could take a long time,
So that one, you will get tea for, I can see that.
Let's get.
All right.
But we're doing great. We're doing great.
They are doing, they are doing great. They are definitely leveling through in a big way.
Yes, so hopefully in the second grade. Okay, should we go on to the next one?
I'm breathing. I'm getting birth.
Okay, so here is our fantastic fabulous DPW department. DPW budget lines are well within budget outside of the exception of the snow department, which is 34,907 over budget, over the budget amount of 354,200. The bill submitted.
Okay, let me just get this.
Yeah.
If I understand this. The snow emergency,
Yeah,
that, it can't be 354,000.
the amount I submitted for reimbursement to
For
the
the
town,
village.
for the village was 200,000.
200,000.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
and due to that
yes,
double storm, as I call it, the days apart from each other.
yes.
The
Yes.
flurries, the flurry of
There's
words.
the flurry. Yes, so that has already been submitted. Now they came back with an email today looking for
We can get
risk management,
management.
expenses, which would be another 16,000 is the cap, for that.
I will prorate it for the mayor's salary for the emails that I got, and on my side of that should be like, I went far $6. Well, I added a-
We'll add that in.
No, this is good though, because I understand that we made the hurdle on the county basis, and so we might be able to get from the state, so that's.
Mhm.
And that was a lot of information to pull
That
together.
was a lot.
Dale's being very
I was
modest.
just
That was very
I could,
hard.
I sent 3 separate emails with 3 zip files in order to get them all.
Okay,
Yeah, and more coming, so.
okay.
And all kidding
Thank
aside, your prorated salary and management salary is will be part of that as well.
That would be part of the management,
16.
Okay.
the 16,000, yes. Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
town hands in a separate one, because
The
every
town is-
municipality hands in a separate one.
Yes, the town totally separate.
And do you know how it gets reimbursed or theoretically reimbursed? By the governor's office or wherever it's being said by the state
Well, it
government?
goes through FEMA at that point, so it becomes a FEMA project and then they have a whole,
Algorithm.
yeah. Mhm,
Okay.
yes, but when we
See them
did
3 years.
the form,
Remember that everything you say is actually now being heard.
Okay,
because they
Okay.
have very specific, spreadsheet
Don't use air
forms
quotes on
and
the word specific.
forms to be used, for the information you submit to FEMA to
Okay.
get reimbursed. We just used it for this, because that way now we're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
If it gets,
Well, look, I trust you guys to make sure, everything's done appropriately to the other 45 municipalities.
Mhm.
Because with school aid, as we learned, that's not what happened.
Mhm.
And there's somehow our affluent communities, of which there are quite a few in Westchester, somehow do better. And the cities somehow get lots of stuff, and the village and town somehow not so much. So somebody has to just make sure that everybody's being treated equitably.
Right.
So we can take action.
Mhm.
Great.
Yes,
I have faith.
once they do a declaration, then
Then
they'll
you'll
come
see.
out and our representatives will contact us to do a kickoff meeting, and then that starts the process for any FEMA
Okay.
declaration.
Have we done this before? Has this ever been done before? Is this?
Oh,
something-
yeah.
We did, yeah.
Not the snows.
No,
Yeah.
I've never done,
Flooding.
actually never done one for snow before. But Superstorm Sandy,
Right, so that's where it came in.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm,
fantastic.
it's the same
Okay.
methodology,
Good, now I'm
Mhm.
even more optimistic.
yes.
Great.
Okay, so the next slide, is our fantastical Park and Rec department. They're on target, with 16% of budget reached in the first quarter and is in line with previous years. From July to September are obviously high activity months, people and higher expenditures for camp and other seasonal programs, for that, but there are no red flag,
Okay.
let's say.
We will be adjusting though, as once we get the construction schedule, so, but again, with rec, if we reduce the programming, expenses will go down commensurate with the coverage being
Well, we
on.
budgeted for some amount of, when we knew we were gonna do construction, we did the budget in November, no?
No, because really, that if we have to like pull back on programming, like, so a lot of the programming, because it's done with contracted staff that are
Okay.
instructors and seasonal, so.
Too late now anyways, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next slide. Our Village of Ossining 2026 items on the radar, for the first quarter. So as you can see, gas prices, we all know, we've seen that up, we've seen it here
Not me,
as well, most
electric baby,
of us.
those of us driving electric, happy right now.
Those of us.
Highly
driving
recommend.
Fossil fuel vehicles are having a rough time. Gas prices have increased 54%, since January 1st to March 31st, and diesel has increased 76%.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Current projections in comparison, with budget, if costs continue to increase or remain high, will result in an amount over budget by approximately $38,000 at this point.
I think at this point, you should just plan on that.
Yeah, I agree with
Like,
that.
don't.
Mhm. We do have, 250,000 in contingency,
Yeah,
so we can,
wherever you get it, but
Right.
I think at this point, you actually put 50,000 in, and
Mhm.
just work from there.
right. Mhm. We already talked about snow events, so that was the second bullet point. Electric costs estimated by New York Power Authority exceeded market estimations due to the very cold weather conditions experienced at the beginning of the year. And significantly elevated energy market prices. Increased costs are to be amortized over the remainder of the year for the adjustment, and we will monitor numbers closely
Okay.
on that
Keep
one.
going, just point out all the
Yeah.
red flags,
Um,
it's easier.
I think that was it. I ended on a positive
That's the
though.
last page.
I said cannabis tax revenues were not included in the 2026 budget.
That's a surprise, it's not cover our fuel bills.
Yeah. Do not having historical data,
Yeah.
to create a valid assumption, as we start to prepare the 2027 budget, we should have at least one full quarter to make a conservative revenue estimate. Okay?
Yes. You got it?
So you wanna hear about some projects?
Third excited right now.
Jamie,
The It is. This is part of it, so when it works, right? Very cool. Oh, somebody had time on there.
Well, it's not from the, but I did borrow from the place saving committee, so I need to give them credit. Because I thought it's really blossoming is a good way to talk about all the things that we're doing. And, please some of the part violence. I don't have the technical skills in the police department, but. So next slide, please. So just really briefly, like we do have, a strategy in place here and guiding principles. When we take on projects, obviously, there's a lot of discussion, with the board initially to make sure that we're taking on a project that, the board is bought into. But I think most importantly, we seek a tremendous amount of community engagement to the extent that is possible. And realistic, and it's something that we work really hard on, and thanks to Jamie and her increasing skills in communicating with the public. We've increased our social media reach, but we've done in-person engagement, webinars. We really do try, understand that it is really hard for a municipality to keep everybody in the loop. Great opening rate on the mayor's message. We try to get that information out, all that we, as much as we can, and get input so that anything that's happening here is informed by the public. Fiscal responsibility is really key too, so, you just heard the financial report, but everything that we do, not only are we making sure that we have the finances in place for the project itself, but we're taking into consideration long-term operational costs, maintenance, those things as well, so that we know that the project will make sense not only now, but in the future. And increasingly, we're working with a high level of interdepartmental coordination for every project. There are very few projects that we're doing now that don't touch almost every single department in one way or another, including the fire department, including the police department. So high level of teamwork and integration, as well as working with Calgy Construction, as a coordinated construction manager to supplement those efforts, working on all these projects. And sustainability, but not just environmental sustainability, financial sustainability, and sustainability in that what we build today, we want to make sure is there for future generations. So a lot of thought goes into these projects. And we are working off the strategy that the village has been talking about for decades for most of these projects. So I'm gonna do things a little differently than I've done in the past, just to try to put it in better. Next slide, please. So, just to try to put it in more context and not just list off projects, but really give a sense of the scope of the projects in terms of how they relate to the community, how they relate to things that we get called about, interests of people. So a large number of our projects, particularly through the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, DRI, or community development, economic development oriented projects, but also a big focus on road improvement projects, as well as drinking water infrastructure, which we're very proactive in and we take very seriously. So I'll highlight some of those projects as we go through the major ones, but also tremendous commitment to, sustaining our socioeconomic diversity with affordable housing. We'll talk about what's underway and what's coming possibly down the pipeline soon. Our planning initiatives, as well as future DRI projects that we won't start this year, but by 2027, 2028, we should be rounding out all of our DRI projects and seeing a huge change in the downtown that will have a ripple effect for the rest of the community. We also have, for our village facilities, our municipal buildings require improvements too. So there's some things that we'll be working on this year, as well as when we get ready for budget season, we'll make sure preventive maintenance is one of the first things we look at for the budget going forward in terms of capital improvements, as well as administrative projects. So really focusing on improved communication, not only internally with the board, with the public at large. Again, nod to Jamie and the work she's doing, as well as the work that you all are doing and Deputy Mayor is doing on social media. Like we're getting more reach, and again, police departments, we're in awe of them. They go viral about every other.
They're gonna win a Webby, no offense to you or to my.
Yeah, not that creative, but our
But
police
they're gonna win a Webby soon, so.
yeah, they're really. The other focus is operational efficiency and intermunicipal agreements. We got a lot going on this year. Next slide, please. So I think that the highlights here, when we're talking about community development, we're talking about the Aqueduct Hub, which will provide parking and e-bike infrastructure and a bike library, and an ability to stop along the way on the aqueduct, get a bike, ride around Ossining and see what we have going on here. So that ties into our Project Mover project and renovations to the community center and Nelson Sitting Park playground, which we're finally getting started. All of these projects have grant funding, and I think the takeaway here is, despite the fact that we're spending, $27.4 million on these projects, almost 23% of the total spend on these projects is grant funded. That's a significant amount of money. These are all reimbursable grants, so the cash flow is really important. We still have to manage the cash flow. We still have to do resolutions to make sure that we have the cash flow, but they are reimbursable and we do make sure we get reimbursed. So, road improvement, I think our biggest project, which we're waiting for DOT final approval on, is the Route 9 safety enhancements, but the narrowing of Route 9. Next slide, please, Jamie, I'm sorry. The narrowing of Route 9, which will increase parking, we'll talk about that in a little more detail. That's our biggest project, but we're also investing in streetscaping and paving, through Community Development Block Grant and improvements on Westerly Road, which are, it's a bit of a smaller project, but still, we know that, we hear about our roads all the time, so making sure that we are paying attention to them and doing, that work is important to us.
Just remind me again, the Westerly Road improvement, what's that about?
So that's, that was a grant that we got, and we have, reallocated the money, and it really is to improve to the degree possible. It's similar to the streetscaping project, that we're doing on Spring Street, but really like fixing up that road a bit, improving it. Westerly Road needs some work. We're hoping to widen it, but like we do have some issues, you know, if you have walked down there, you know that the utilities are right. So, you know,
Widening the
that's gonna take,
sidewalks.
it's a challenging area, so in widening the road, you know, making it more attractive, it's really an area that needs improvement. There's not a long stretch,
It's just
but
a challenge.
it's a bit of a challenging area, but that's something that we're paying attention to as well.
Okay.
So again, right now, because we got a large grant for the road diet, over 65% of the $6 million plus spend is covered by grants. And drinking water infrastructure, we're really investing heavily, but what's more important than drinking water? We take it really seriously.
Next slide.
Next slide, Jamie, I'm sorry. So the good news is the water treatment plant is well underway, wood, and we are going forward with the Lakeville tank repainting and lead service line replacement. And again, this is $105 million is a lot of money, but it is drinking water infrastructure. So that is one of the largest projects, not only that we've ever done, but also in the Northeast is my understanding. But a significant and very important project, and but still not too bad with 17.5% grant funding. Next slide, please. Just to bring you up to date where we are with our projects currently underway, the Aqueduct Hub, as it's been newly named, is really the linchpin. This is the ability to develop the surface parking lots that were sort of decimated, you know, there were stores there once, there will be now development there again. So long after urban renewal, we're finally revitalizing that area, but largely due to the fact that we now have a place to put parking in the Brander lot. Again, something that the village has been talking about for some time, part of the issue is funding. So DRI money gave us the funding to get that project underway, the seed money, not all the funding, but a portion of it. We expect that job will be totally complete in January 27. December 2027, the structure itself will probably be completed by then, but the bike component probably will be going into January. And right now, we're working on an RFP for artists, because there is a public art scrim on the opposite side of the building. And we're looking for an artist to do a design there that would reflect the history of or pay homage to the history of the aqueduct and our outdoor assets with the double arch bridge. We will have a resolution next week on the agenda so that we can issue that RFP, and we're working on drafting that as we speak. Next slide, please. Project Mover is our micromobility e-bike project. We're entering the third term year of the pilot for this project, and it has expanded. The town is doing it in Croton, Sleepy Hollow, Tarrytown, and Doss Ferry. the idea is to create more connectivity in the river towns, to support people with affordable options for mobility. And it's doing well. The pilot by and large has been a success, and now we're really talking, with, shared mobility and drop mobility, which is the bike provider, to be, using the bike, infrastructure that we have at the Aqueduct Hub as a bike library, a place to get bikes, a place to, pick up your bikes, rest, an area where they can do public education on bike riding, things like that. So all things, bikeable, and, we are also, given the potential of the project, really working with NYSERDA, which is the initial funder of the pilot program, county and state representatives to look for ways we can make this more sustainable going forward. It's enormously challenging to have 5 communities try to coordinate this on their own. It's like, that's not 5 board members.
Did
that's
everybody pass the
25.
budget? I mean, we're a village, but somehow we're on this November, December, most villages in New York are doing budgets now, I think.
We're still working on it.
There's no-
Yeah.
We don't know what they passed.
My
We assume they're gonna
understanding
pass.
is that most of them did. So the idea was that each municipality would put in $40,000, and that would give the money for the next year. So the funding for this, for Project Mover expires because it's also on the same April to April, cycle. So, the funding for the last year of the pilot expires in April 27th. At that point, they're looking for more money, for April 27 to 28 to continue the project and scale it. There are some opportunities here, though, that we really feel need to be discussed at the state level, at the county level. I mean, we've seen an enormous amount of potential, for this to offer a real, solution to affordability, especially now. We just saw how expensive gas is. We know how expensive cars are, and we know we need environmental, solutions and ways to get off the fuel. So this is proving, a good last mile solution for the train station and back. It's very efficient for local transportation, especially in the hilly river towns. It has potential for MTA to increase weekend ridership because you can have people, there's literally bikes at every MTA station virtually.
But the MTA is not participating.
We plan to engage them in that discussion, and, there's a tourism imperative too, which is a big initiative at the state level as well as the county level. So we're working to get a meeting, going with NYSERDA, but also we've talked to our county representatives, our state representatives to the governor's office to really make people aware that this project has a lot of potential. We can eke it along with contributions from municipalities, or we can really do something meaningful, with what really is a relatively small amount of money, to operate it annually, which we're talking a few $100,000. And if we centralize this and work alongside an operational government agency, I think we have a much better chance of making this really a viable program for Westchester wide and perhaps beyond. So, that's a lot of talking that we're doing, but it is important, and, I think there's a lot of potential, and we're getting good feedback, so we're hoping that, we can really get this going over the next year. Of course, with a lot of players involved, it's a lot
of players.
It's a lot of players, but, we have made it clear, and my understanding is there is some recognition on some level that it has to be centralized to be sustainable. Next slide, please. So we're very excited about, the community center renovations because this is essentially the beating heart of the community. I think the beating heart of our community is our community center. It is packed day and night, every day of the week. And the upgrades are really gonna benefit the community tremendously. So, we did discuss that we had some challenges with the roof. Those are all being addressed, and we should be ready to go out to bid, sometime in May, probably mid-May. Construction would likely be able to start then by September. And we think, again, we want to keep the site open and stage the construction, but we think that you know, probably that's an 18 month to 20, more likely 24 months to complete the project, is if we're saving it and not closing the center down outright. But we do want to be able to keep the loans going, because so many people rely on the green center for so many reasons, like senior programs, after school programs, the youth bureau is, you know, increasing its reach to the youth population, and all of the improvements here are really gonna increase the functionality of the space there without really changing the footprint. So it's a really efficient and effective way to revitalize that very, very important part of our community. Next slide, please. So an extension of that is our Nelson Park Inclusive Playground, which we have been waiting for. This is funded through a community development block grant. So there was some lag. These are federal grants that then are implemented through the county, but we are starting. And while we initially thought it would start this week, the old playground has been removed, and week of the 20th. So next week, they will start installing the new playground, and it will have inclusive play components for kids of all ages and all types of kids. And it should be completed just in time for summer, so sometime early June.
Is this an addition or actual?
It's the one that, we have, so I think it's similar. I think that the final might be a little different than that, but there are gonna be two, like a younger child play area and an older child play
nice.
area, and some, you know, space in between, so, we're excited. It's gonna be really
That's great.
nice.
Does that mean that all our parks are now inclusive? All our playgrounds?
They're not all necessarily inclusive, but they are, you know, the vast majority of, pretty much, almost all of them have been upgraded. There's still a couple of smaller parks that we probably could do some work on. And when we do upgrade them, we do tend to, so the last three that we've upgraded have been done in a way that incorporates some level of inclusive play equipment.
Nice.
So it really does fulfill our commitment to making
Nice.
sure that our playgrounds are as fun and fresh and safe and inclusive as possible.
Great.
So I do want to acknowledge that also not only was there community input in that, as there are for all our projects, but particularly for community development block grant projects, but also the recreation advisory board's role in planning for the parks all these years too has a real impact on that too. Next slide. So Route 9 safety enhancements, this has been another project that has been talked about and anticipated and talked about again, and then put to bed and talked about again for decades, over 2 decades. And there has been a large body that's advocated for Route 9 to go back to its pre-urban renewal state, which it was one lane of traffic in each way. And it's, when we say that, it's literally about a mile stretch of road. So this is from Cedar Lane up by the old A.M. Myers Furniture, Brandon Furniture Store, and then this goes down to right past the high school, where we have 2 lanes, 1 lane on either side. Again, was going to be the whole Route 9 was going to be 4 lanes, and it never materialized, only in Ossining. So it is going to, the design here is really going to foster much greater vehicular and pedestrian safety. And also help community development, economic development by adding parking back on both sides of the street. You know, if you go through some of the river towns, that really does help to be able to have more places to park, to shop, to walk to the community center. It is going to be an economic and development advantage for small businesses. And it corrects the unintended consequence of this particular urban renewal project, which essentially bifurcated the community and separated it by a little mini highway, and created a physical divide. To this day is hard to cross Route 9. But if you're driving Route 9, you know that people are crossing it all day long. So one of the really good things is we had budgeted a total of $5 million for this project. we have $4 million that we received from the federal government through a congressional grant that has now been allocated to the DOT to distribute. The DOT had wanted some of their own changes though, and they've made signaling changes. The 2 consecutive signals up by Snowden Avenue, as well as the signal here at the Croton Avenue intersection. And the cost of those is significant, but they are bearing the cost. So they're putting in another $2 million essentially into the project to cover the signaling they want. It also, there will be.
Does it include the signal?
Yes, I was just gonna say, so right there, it shows a walkway, but there'll be a signal there at Aqueduct, Denny and Aqueduct Street, which if you drive, people are like,
Oh, it's crazy.
It's-
And kids get off at the school bus.
it's
crazy.
really, it's really dangerous. And, this will help with walkability, it will help with traffic flow, and this new signaling will help. So there is some concern that, we already have traffic backing up and, if we do this, you're taking away lanes, so it may back up traffic. There is a bit of a give and take here. It is a traffic calming, intervention. There's no question about that. But the new signaling will be designed to help flow. There'll be a turn lane for the school so that, you won't necessarily be backing up for people going to, the middle school and Claremont School. So we are addressing the traffic flow in the design, which is one of the reasons it's taken a few years to get the design right. Working very closely with the DOT, but we're very close to a final design. So once we get the final design, we can start with the bid documents, and we anticipate this work will really start in earnest next year. And the work itself should take about a year, so we will keep you posted on the timing. But this is in context with everything else we're doing, this is a highly transformative project because it really will make our village more cohesive, more walkable, and much safer for many, many people. Next slide, please. So our biggest project, Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant, I am happy to say that this is pretty much 60% complete. And I would really encourage a board outing one day, especially now that the weather's warm, so if we can work on scheduling that. It is really something to see the construction, it's going up really quickly. It's a fabulous project and a lot of things that this will do for Ossining in terms of just ensuring quality drinking water for many years to come. And as we, for the public's benefit, this has been planned for 10 years. The village and town have been planning this. We broke ground in July of 2024, seems like yesterday. Again, moving forward very, very well, on time. And completion date is. And completion
The budget
date
keeps
is.
changing, so it's on budget.
For the budget, the final budget that was established.
Yeah.
We have not had more changes, so, completion date summer 2027, so we'll look forward to that ribbon cutting, but, very exciting project, but you guys.
Get out. Look, think about on 27 million, 310 million for a whole bunch of reasons. It's not a secret, we discussed everything many times. And everybody who walks in and says, I didn't know, is not paying attention, which is fine, that's their prerogative. But this is true, I really think there's like, a public plus staff, call it a picnic, call it a celebration, call it donuts from the local bakeries, chamber, NAACP, open door, like everybody uses water here. And all these facilities use a tremendous amount of water, but fit, all these folks should be invited, because, these are the kind of projects that so few municipalities, including major cities in this country, really keep punting, because politicians don't want to deal with it, because nobody sees all this stuff. Once a building is up, everybody go, oh, it's too pretty, why'd they do that? But when they see the picture on the left and then see like more stuff, people get to feel more involved in the investment being made, because infrastructure is a huge issue. And you can't just plaster some pieces of wood and paint them and pretend that everything's fine. There's a lot of work involved. all the staffs involved. I mean, I think we need to celebrate even before some groundbreaking, where you have a whole bunch of politicians and shovels and all. I think like this is the moment.
We could definitely plan a hard hat
You know,
event.
while it's like in
and
process.
It's lovely up there when it's.
That's beautiful, that's terrific.
So, we can definitely, plan something, and
I think we should, and I think we can involve the chamber, or some folks want to donate some stuff or not donate it, we buy it, but I just think. You know, all the stuff that is done on infrastructure, all of housing and institutions and the senior homes, and that we have so many of. You know, nobody really gets to see it until all of a sudden the concrete goes up and go, whoa, what's happening here? And, you know, that's where all the work is fixing all the infrastructure. And that's what municipality spends so much of its time. You could see on the budget. So let's celebrate and not just do, you know, shovel groundbreaking with frankly a bunch of strangers who may have given us money, but haven't been like the day-to-day laborers on it. So let's put that in the budget there.
Am I?
Picnic,
Picnic on
no, but also invite like the
the red
chamber
door.
and, you know, religious institution, whatever, everybody.
I think that's a great
You know,
idea, and I
the
think this would be
Sing
nice to do
prison.
it midway, so.
Yeah, Sing Sing, I mean, I know they're not part of our infrastructure, but
But
they're
they
part
use
of our
water too.
community. They use a lot of water.
They use our
water, I know.
They use a lot of water.
I think they're the number one users.
Yeah, they're big.
Uses a lot.
They're big.
So let's, anyway, I'm excited about it, I think we should celebrate it.
Great, yes.
That's cool.
It is very exciting. Next slide, please. So, with everything going on, we also, you know, and I really think Ossining for a long time, and certainly with the unanimous support of this board, has been very conscious of making sure that we're a place where people can age in place and live in communities where they work and near where they work, and we really made a commitment to affordable housing and housing of all types, for all types of people. The two projects currently underway, which you can see rising as we speak, is Crescent Manor on Pope Avenue. What? That looks.
I'm not sure that's the.
Oh,
Yeah,
that,
No,
No,
that's
that's it.
right, that was the original rendering for
yeah,
Crescent
no, that's
Manor, yeah.
Crescent Manor.
It looks.
No, the one under it looks like our downtown building.
No, that's, oh, you know what, you're right,
Yeah,
you're right,
that's
you're right,
Maintenance
that is,
Spring.
that's the wrong
Maintenance
picture, I'm
Spring.
sorry, that was my fault. But it looks similar to that,
Yeah.
anyway, well, I think
It's a building.
we'll change the picture for the record, but you're right, that's the, anyway, we'll talk about that project too. Thank you for getting that, all the stuff is starting to look the same to me. 5 people have looked at this presentation, but I think Jamie was the one that caught that, so I should have, I said, no, that one's right. Anyway, don't listen to me. So there's 73 affordable senior, for seniors in the Crescent Manor, apartment, and they'll be rented, at 50 and 60% AMI. That's area median income. They'll have retail on the ground floor, and that project should be completed like Memorial Day weekend, it looks like.
Of 2027.
Yes. It'll be a lease up by lottery, so we're instructing people to, put their name in with IFTA, and we'll make sure that information is available. We have it available in the clerk's office. If they want to be called when the lottery opens, so that they can make sure.
When does it
that-
open the lottery?
Typically, the lotteries open about 6 months before completion, so we're not there yet. And then 30 Water Street, which is not this building, but kind of looks a little like that building, is gonna be 109 units of mixed income affordable housing, so ranging from very affordable at 30% area median income to about 80% area median income. Also with retail and community space, 40 municipal parking spaces. Completion of the Sing Sing Hill walkway, which will go under the Central Avenue Bridge and down Water Street. And that looks like it's gonna be completed by September 27th. And that will also be.
27 would be a big year.
The year 27, no.
And we have other projects, market rate and affordable homeownership in underway being considered, but they haven't really made it to the planning board yet, so I'll update when we get further along with those projects. Next slide, please. So, projects aren't all we do, we also plan for things, so, we have a lot of planning initiatives, and this does take, the time of the board, in addition to the time of the staff. So as you know, lots of small scale zoning underway, we've gotten through a lot of things on our list, we've updated our very old, zoning codes. We are in the process of preparing a presentation on overnight hardship and new parking recommendations to address some of the issues we're having with overnight parking in the more residential areas of the village. Right now, we are looking at Station Plaza North, so we have been contemplating rezoning there. We've come to the board with some ideas. Now we're going back to the community. And next week on April 22nd, from 5 to probably about 8 at night, we'll be at Pure Coffee, talking to the community about what we're proposing for Station Plaza North and getting input from the community. So the board can then go ahead with confidence, making decisions on zoning there. T-zone, we are rezoning for conditional use and the moratoriums in place. And we did speak with the state about the local waterfront revitalization plan, which we talked to the board about a few weeks ago. And while we think we're going to do the body of this work in 2027, they did ask that we get started on the RFP and get a consultant in place by the end of this year, because they're a little concerned about the timing, even though we have a good 2 years to do the project, so. And that's a planning initiative that we have grant funding for.
The hardship and unique parking study and recommendations. First presentation, May of 27.
No, May 27th.
Okay, so that, and community update on the Station Plaza is April, so that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Put the years down.
No, I didn't put the years down, so those are just the dates, so yes, May 27th, like next month.
Just because it's been decades in marketing, like, years always on, these things get a life of their own, because I'm assuming we're putting this somewhere on the website, this
We'll add it.
application. And then on the bottom of each slide, you should just say Q1, review, Q1 2026 review, because these things sort of get separated and people cut and paste and it ends up out of context. So I would just add that to all the slides.
We'll do, when we change the picture of 31, people do that too.
These are little things, but they do separate the pages and they end up on social media and.
Yeah,
pieces.
we'll number it too, I had taken.
Yeah,
it
that's fine.
I'll put it back on, but that's all easy peasy. Next slide, please. So we do have a few
Can I
other,
also just insert another thing? Would you say that much of this is in line with the comprehensive plan that was done?
I would say all of it is.
Okay, I was giving you a little edge space. So you would say that from a number of years ago, when we discussed what we wanted and what we were going through, that if somebody were to say, like, this is different, you know, nobody's ever discussed it, this is all new. Would you say that all these projects are actually in line?
With the exception of Project Mover, I
Which
think
was
that,
a whole different came
that I would say that if you go back to the 2009 comprehensive
Oh.
plan, the majority of them are discussed in that. Including the road diet, I believe the road diet, definitely the parking structure, the water treatment plant, like this is stuff that we've been talking about for a long, long time. So to have it finally come to fruition all at once presents a bit of a challenge in getting everything done, but a huge.
No, I
opportunity.
understand, I get that, okay.
And when we're, so the DRI, we got the $10 million and it provided seed money for a lot of projects, including projects that are being done by private entities as well as the town. But for the village, we still have a couple of projects that we won't be starting until 2027 and possibly a little later. So the building that was on the previous page is actually the building of Spring on Main, which would be a market rate mixed use development that is proposed for the train station parking lots on the corner of Spring Street and Main Street. So we're gonna be starting to work on the term sheet and the land use acquisition development agreement, as well as the developer does anticipate a pilot for this project. And we have, we're in the process of getting proposals from entities that, agencies that provide fiscal impact analysis. And the idea would be that, this would be paid for by the developer, but it would be, the report would be done for the village by the village. So we would control that report. It would involve, the assessor and, you know, very basically everything from what the base tax, you know, tax roll would be, versus what the, you know, the impact on the community, the potential benefits to the community, all those things will be weighed in, we'll be able to weigh in on the input for that report and, use that, have a very firm negotiating stance with the developer on any pilot agreement. Which I think is really important, to be able to do that with great confidence. Stations, plaza, streetscaping, probably, you know, this will be done in conjunction with 30 Water Street, the streetscaping that they're gonna be doing for that project. We do have some DR funding for that project, $357,000, and then Market Square, which will be the final project that we do. Once we have the Spring on Main Street project underway in the post office lots, we'll really be working on redoing, redesigning, re-landscaping Market Square to really be a beautiful public plaza with free parking, but a lot of opportunities for the events that we do there and the street fairs and all kinds of.
There, right.
Yeah, so, but we won't need to have parking there anymore because we will have the Aqueduct Hub, which will have 240 spaces, 20. Yes, 42 spaces. Yeah,
We're counting.
so,
Apparently we count everything now.
you know, and we'll have $1.5 million to get that project going. And then next,
What's the, vault? Is that, what's the W?
that's one, right now, that's the initial contribution that he's indicated for, so, Fox will talk about that when we talk
Who
about the
had an artistic moment doing this present? Was that you? I know you're taking art classes. So when you're doing that.
This is what they call flip art. But again, going with the Ossining is blossoming theme here. We're also working on some building improvements here, so we're gonna be doing the police and courthouse roofs this year.
Don't we fix the elevator in the police?
No, because we had to wait until we do the roof, and now we're gonna do the roof and then fix the elevator, and then we are likely gonna be replacing the windows at this building because it is well past the time that they should be replaced. So that's on the docket, and those are all budgeted for 2026. And then finally, next slide, please. We are also,
I'm sorry, just remind me about solar on the police. We're not able to do it, right?
we are going to build it so that we can do solar.
We didn't
And
budget for it.
well, no, we're hoping that some of the NYSERDA or your power authority money for solar comes back so that we can use those programs again, but we didn't budget for leasing.
So we haven't really used Sustainable Westchester as a member for years for any meaningful project. Is this a project they can help us with?
Possibly, I mean, they have a new interim,
Yeah, I read his newsletter.
Yeah,
I've
so-
seen some of the stuff they've done in more affluent communities and cities. Maybe they could help with this. We've been members for a long time and I don't know if we benefited as much as we should be benefiting.
I actually know Tom from a former position. We used to work together a few years ago, so I'm just gonna follow up with him to see what the plans are.
I mean, there might be other things, solar windows, since we have to get like, you know, I don't know if it's necessarily solar roof, but that's something they're pushing. So maybe it'd be helpful.
Into it.
Yeah, it'd be
Um,
helpful.
No, absolutely, and that goes in with,
Right.
align with our ability to try to be as sustainable as possible.
Great.
And then, finally, administrative projects, so, you know, we're doing a lot,
I love Jamie's at the end over here.
that, we saved the best for
probably
last.
not the-
We saved the best for last. We will be upgrading the website, which is an enormous amount of work, so kudos, Jamie, thank you. We're working on social media content, as well. Deputy Mayor Lopez has offered his services, and so has Jesse. Jesse is gonna be actually filming some B-roll for some stuff at the water treatment plant and, this Friday, and he's gonna be doing some filming so that we can do videos on the projects that can work as individual modules as well as, you know, bigger sort of documentaries. The firehouse consolidation, planning is something that we want to get going on and get that in the works again, now that we've gotten the staff done and we really do need to start thinking long-term for those firehouses, long-term. And then, we have several intermunicipal agreements, that are due, the police, IMA, the recreation IMA and the courts IMA are all due, and we will try to work on them, this year, with the town to, update those IMAs. And, probably prioritizing the police IMA, and then working on the recreation and the courts, will be, our goal is to try to get them complete too by coming end of 2026. Might be a lot, so we're really gonna focus on the police, but we are gonna at least start the other two as well. There's a lot of work that goes into those, and that's why they tend to not as regularly as they probably should, so. So a lot going on, but a lot of conscientious budgeting going on, a lot of attention to planning, and a comprehensive plan, and the idea that these are things that the village has talked about for a long time. We have a lot of new people here, so we want to make sure that they're aware. And when you talk about things for a long time, people forget. So we're trying new ways to make sure we can update them. And that's where the website content creation comes in. And I do want to really, none of this is possible without the staff that we have, and particularly the coordination of our team upstairs with Stuart's help as always, and Maddie and Jamie to do a lion's share of the coordinating all the pieces that go into all of these things. Thank you.
I have to say that, you know, when I first started, as mayor to now, the presentations, you know, just gotten better and better, not only in the way they look, which is why I comment, but every page tells a story, so it's easy to really understand where we're going, and it will be easier for us to communicate with members of the public. You know, what we're doing, what's going on, because as much as we think everybody pays attention every minute of the day to, most people pay attention to their neighborhoods, and that they drive to work or get their kids. Most folks on the schools where, you know, have, or whatever they're taking care of, or if they're commuters. So they're not thinking about everybody else's neighborhoods and all that, but everything affects everyone. So I think this is really a great presentation. I mean, the content is great, but even the readability of it, the understanding of it after all these years, I think we really, you know, hit a home run here. So I think it's great. I don't know if anybody else thinks we left anything off, but it seems like you covered a lot of projects, a lot of housing, a lot of infrastructure. The river towns are, you know, from Yonkers to Poughkeepsie. I mean, infrastructure is a challenge. When people build or retrofit, they destroy things, they come across costs they never expected, they, you know, and same thing for municipalities. I think it's great, like, they feel like really good. Like, I'm gonna go to bed tonight feeling really great that you guys have so much under control, and like, kids, seniors, you know, community center, favorite project, Market Square. Parking is such an issue everywhere. Almost every meeting, that's discussed. I think it's great. I drove by in your neighborhood to see the progress they're making with school, you know, work being done there. I know the projects that the town is doing isn't on there, but when you add that in, more stuff's going on, and some of the private, like the Opera House. I mean, it's, you know, it's great. So kudos to everybody, and we got the owl in, and
Yeah.
I thought that was gonna be like, you know, 2 or 3 months, but apparently we got it all in the first quarter. Unbelievable.
Again, Jamie worked a lot to get that little owl going. That was,
Sure did.
that
Sure did.
was,
You know, that next
an
we're gonna have,
unsung, achievement for her.
nobody looks at this stuff. The, question for the owl, all kidding aside, just because the quality of zooming, of the Zooms, and the meetings for the land use and all that, are all of, is this going, technology going to the ops center in that conference room? Is it going in the courtroom? Not only for our use, obviously, because, you know, every other week we meet there. I guess I should ask Jamie, but, where are we with that?
Well, we're doing actually taking the planning meetings here, just it's a better location for people to walk
I
to.
agree.
Jamie, you wanna give a little rundown of the
Sure.
next steps for our little owl here?
Yes, our little owl. So for now it's going to be here. We're going to make, there's a couple testing things that we need to do. Once this works and we've got all the kinks out of it, we'll move it, we'll do something like this similar at the court, but it would only be for the village at this time. But we need to figure out what kind of cameras we need. And I can tell you that we purchased this, I think in December, and the technology has already changed dramatically. So it's just a matter of finding the right balance between what exists and what technology is coming. But once it's all done, then we'll be able to talk to the town and see if they're interested. But it would really be up to them because they would have to purchase their own equipment. So, but you might see, I don't know if you noticed in the back of the room, there's an iPad that makes this now hybrid. So if for any reason anyone needed to have a hybrid meeting, we don't have to go through the cable. So which means that I don't have to be in the room any given night to get everybody started. So
Jamie.
just kidding.
This group understands that what looks simple isn't,
Yeah, but
and
I
the
can,
big
yeah.
stuff is actually less complicated, but yeah.
But I do want to just say that Trustee Yost, you sound the best of anybody in the room, which I think everyone should give him a round of applause because, yeah, it's
I've got the Yost
I'm pretty impressed by that. But I was sharing my screen before, so I wasn't able to see how the camera's working with so many people in the room, but I can see now that it's really, it's doing great and everyone sounds really incredible. I'm interested to see the transcript after to see what it picked up. So, yep. And then as time goes on, we'll be able to assign voices to people, but we'll be able to do that
Well,
later.
it'll pick it up, right? It picks
Right,
it
but I'll
up
be able
pretty
to assign
quickly.
it and say, like, if for instance you were speaking or Maddie was speaking or
Yeah,
Dale, what have you, then there's a way to program it that it would recognize your voices.
well, we've been using it at the O250 meetings, and I think it's been doing really well. It learns very quickly. So, I mean, my car after 5 years doesn't recognize my voice, but this actually, system you use actually does. So I think it's really cool. It's gonna pick up your laugh,
No, I was just like.
and now people will hear what you're saying all this time. So it's a little scary, I'm thinking. No, you're okay with it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments, I don't have a mic to see body language now. People used to pull their mic, I knew they wanted to talk. Now I have no body language happening. Questions, comments, questions, going once, speech.
I do have one comment. I just want to thank Jesse for everything he's been doing since COVID, with making sure that we work. He's really the unsung hero of all of this. So Jesse Tutman is amazing, and he has made it so that we can exist the way that we do, especially with what we do at the court. So special thank you.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
we're off and running.
So thank you all. Next, we're gonna call Gail back, to discuss some.
Go, go ahead. What are we doing next? What do you have next?
Budget adjustments. So,
It is, and these folks have been here for 2 hours for the next agenda.
we can skip to, the 25 North Malcolm hardship, exemption,
I think she was trying to let Dale actually
No,
go
it's all right.
home. She was a bit away from here. Okay,
Right.
and Dale always ends up going last. I think was the real issue. And staying through the whole night. Okay, you wanna switch? So we're going,
If we can, so we can move up, in deference to our attendees here. The topic would be, 25 North Malcolm. It's an application for hardship exemption to T-zone, to the T-zone moratorium.
sounds fine.
This is, something that, Stuart, and, Maddie will speak to.
Okay.
Folks, tonight, I know Mr. Bedini is here and folks from,
Hold on, Stuart, why didn't you stop the room though? If you guys presented to Shelley, go get her.
No,
She'll be okay.
no,
No, go ahead.
Mr. Bedini is here. I know there are folks here from, sales for, at Burkett Manor. The issue tonight, although the board certainly had questions and should, is if there is a complete application, which I believe there is, then next week the board can schedule the public hearing, which is required with any moratorium exemption request. And it's sent to the board the application by sale at Frankfurt Manor with regard to 25 North Mountain, with all the exhibits that were attached there too. I don't know if the board has any questions. As I said, Mr. Bedini and folks from sale are here tonight. Certainly the board can ask questions. And again, what would happen is next week there will be a resolution to call for public hearing. That public hearing would be the first Wednesday in May on the issue of.
The public hearing will be the first Wednesday.
Correct.
Okay,
Next week would be the resolution to call it.
got it.
But that's what we have, but the board's had an opportunity to look at this, so if they have any questions, as I said, we have representatives here tonight.
And just so we're clear, this is the only Victoria.
It's the old Victoria.
I think that a lot of people in the community. All right, anybody have questions or comments or requests?
Let's do it like that.
We're gonna hear some.
you can,
Well, the
there's
only
no
go
reason
to
to
so works
use
that
it.
way, the only
You can have
speak to us,
questions.
if you want that, there'll be a question, it's not a presentation. No, there's no presentation, it's a request.
But they did submit a bunch of stuff.
But you said you have a question?
Yeah, they did, so. And I think most of them are. I just had a couple of clarifying questions on the proposed project.
Who's speaking?
Sure.
Yeah,
You just stand at the podium.
no,
Well, it'll be interesting to see if it like picks up your, like, at.
There we go.
There we go.
it was in the packet and everything.
The project for the public, this is 25 North Malcolm Street, which is this is a project that is proposed, we are in a moratorium. So the applicant is requesting, they're filing a hardship application, because we are in the middle of a moratorium and they're interested in meeting their project ahead, but this would be, a facility for, autistic children, if I understand correctly.
Okay, so who has questions?
Do you have prepared comments or do you?
Well, I do, but that's at
Yeah,
the,
do you have specific questions?
Yeah, okay, I've got a question.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't we hear the comments, maybe you'll adjust a little bit.
Okay.
that'd be great. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and Board of Trustees and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm also here with Dr. Kristen Yurczak, who's the Executive Director of Cliff Manor.
Could you introduce yourself, please,
Sorry, James Dabini.
and your role in this
I'm
project?
I'm the attorney representing Cliff Manor.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm there before you, on behalf of Cliff Manor and the School for Adaptive and Integrative Learning, SAIL, regarding a very specific and respectfully very compelling request. That is a board grant hardship exemption and lift the moratorium as it applies to 2025 North Malcolm Street. So this is not a typical development case. This is not about maximizing profit. This is not about increasing density. And this is certainly not about changing the character of the community. This is about whether an organization that has served New York's most vulnerable children for nearly 90 years will be given an opportunity to continue in the next chapter in the village of Ossining at 25 North Markham Street. Berkeley did everything right. On September 4th, 2025, it entered into a binding contract to purchase 25 North Markham Street. We put down a $125,000 deposit on the contract at that time. It hired architects and engineers and planners. It began designing a project that fully complied with the local regulations. And then 2 months thereafter, the moratorium was enacted. And suddenly a project that was lawful and planned and underway was frozen. What are the consequences? So if the moratorium is not lifted, Ferncliff risks losing its deposit. It risks losing substantial professional investments already made. It risks critically, it risks losing $2.3 million from a state grant that's tied to this project. This is immediate, real financial damage caused not by poor planning, but timing. Ferncliff did not stumble upon this property. In fact, they spent over 13 years looking for the right site that could accommodate the unique needs of their students. Facilities like this require residential capacity, clinical and therapeutic infrastructure, safety, security, and specialized design. In this site, if this site is lost, the opportunity may be lost entirely. And what is at stake here? The ability to help the children with severe autism, traumatic brain injuries, complex developmental disabilities. These are students who cannot be served in traditional schools. They are often labeled hard to place, but they are not hard to serve when the right environment exists. And this is exactly what this location provides for these students. For nearly 90 years, Ferncliff has been in place where families find answers, where children find stability, and where real progress is possible. Regarding the community concerns, we get that. This is not a high impact use. There is no daily drop off traffic. Students live on campus. Staff operate in staggered shifts. The environment is quiet, structured, and supervised 24/7. In reality, this functions far more like a residential care facility than a traditional school. It is low traffic, low noise, and highly controlled. And it brings meaningful benefits, approximately 200 jobs across multiple disciplines, local economic activity, and potential pilot agreement providing revenue to the village. And importantly, no burden on the local school district. We believe the law gives the board a clear path. The hardship exemption is appropriate where there was good faith reliance, where there is financial hardship, where their use is compatible, and the public welfare is served. Ferncliff meets every one of those criteria. In closing, the board has the ability to strike the right balance between thoughtful planning and fundamental fairness, between municipal control and human impact. We respectfully request that you grant the hardship exemption and allow this project to proceed. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
You have a question?
Yeah, do you want me to just go on and, okay. No, I appreciate it. So thanks for thanks for all the content and everything. And I think you summarized your kind of like your affidavit, I think essentially as we can. So, but I did have a couple of questions just in terms of kind of timing, so I'm clear. So it says you entered in purchase and sale agreement on September 4th, right?
Correct.
When did you close?
We did not close yet. We're in contract to close. We just got AG approval.
Okay.
That was a question that corporate counsel asked me today. And I spoke with the real estate attorney who's handling the contract himself. And he told me they got AG approval on this matter. So we expect to close, shortly, within the next 30 days or so.
So I saw a couple of extensions and the timeline for me is important. That's like I saw at least one extension of the investigation period.
Right.
To November 11th. So there must have been another one after that as well.
I'm not the real estate attorney on that matter. There may have been another extension after that, but the clients are committed to this property in terms of there's no turning back, there's no refunding of a deposit. That's what you're asking.
Well, I'm trying to understand because there are out clauses during the investigative period, specifically all that matters reasonably affecting or reasonably related to the transaction is maybe applicable.
Right.
It's very wide open.
Yeah.
So, and there are public hearings in between when it was signed and you still haven't closed, right?
Right.
So I'm just trying to make that point that,
Yeah, I mean,
no.
that existed at that time, correct, as of today.
But that time, but that wasn't mentioned in the affidavit, so I think those are important kind of timeline pieces.
Yeah, I got you.
That were very relevant. You also submitted a couple of, some back history related to the grant funding. Right, it appears like the money's been on the table for several years. It looks like there were potential places for this all in Terrytown and in Yonkers that were.
They're
that were-
currently in Yonkers right now.
Okay, but it looks like there was money to expand that in Yonkers, is that happening? Is
I
that?
can get you further clarification if I can call the executive director up here, who's here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand, like, I'm just trying to understand, because it looks like.
You can
Yeah,
always speak from anywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand, because like looks like there was a potential
Yes.
place in Terrytown.
Yes.
It looked like there was potential expansion in Yonkers,
Yes.
so I'd be curious to understand what happened there.
The state certifies us and they provide us for funding, and so when we've got way past the usable life of the facility that we're in. We always had a school and a residence on the same piece of property.
Mhm.
We haven't been able to do that in 16 years. So we have kids that are residential school kids bused to a school about 8 miles away that we are leasing. When we started that particular application, that was for the Yonkers expansion, that was in 2014. And there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of questions we have to answer, a lot of funding things that we have to, we have to talk to banks, and a lot of things happened during that time. But we did put that application in 2014. And in December of 2019, they approved that project with 2014 budget.
This happens when you're working with the state,
Yeah.
as we have found out with
We're very well.
everything we've heard about tonight, right?
So what happened then within, 60 days of that approval, we obviously went right back to the team to get our architects or engineers, everybody, involved, because now we have to make 2019 money from 2014 money work in 2019. And then COVID happened.
Mhm.
And we're a residential school with kids that are vulnerable. We, as much as we could, we kept up with the planning, and no matter what we did, no matter what configuration we looked at, there was literally no way to fit our projects on this site.
Okay.
At reasonable cost. We have a slope, we have a stone, we have all, there's a lot of issues there with the property that we couldn't get through them with for the cost. So we asked then that the set aside of the 2.3 be allowed to be used elsewhere. And so the letter that you saw referenced Tarrytown.
Yeah.
We had looked at that property earlier on, and we thought it would maybe be a good fit. But it kind of wasn't for sale. It was a strange situation. And it was a reasonable cost. It's beautiful, view of the river and everything. But again, that kind of went by the wayside, and someone purchased it, and someone else purchased it. And they have basically demolished that building. That was a very, very nice building. They took it apart. They're leasing it to different temporary offices. Yeah.
So it's not real.
Well, and it also, they wanted us to lease it. The state does not particularly like to enter into private lease agreements. If it was a municipal building or, something like that, they're welcome, but not when it's a private, so you make a profit off of, that land. So they would not agree to, you know, any kind of reasonable selling rules or anything like that. But we have been in touch, you know, since then, obviously, with, CFS, because they're the ones who are under the they, you know, do that, it could be, where, you know, wherever we could find a location that would be, big about it.
That's a whole, no, that's better, I appreciate that. So that just kind of helps with the, trying to understand, trying to look at the.
So, just one other thing, so the applications that have to go in the state, that we had to obviously do one because it's a new site, it's a new project. The state told us that they were not going to, even look at our applications unless we had control of the site. Meaning, you know, that we own the property. So it's, extremely important that we have a site that we can.
Any questions?
Yeah, is that right? You get more? Yeah, you go. Okay. I'm just trying to like get a good sense, right? Because it's like the law requires we have one, a good understanding of the project, to understand the impact, you know, from that perspective, right? So I'm trying to get a sense of that. The looks like in order to make it work, there's significant new construction. It looks like you're, quick math, 4.5 plus 7.9 is, again, the incremental 22,000 square feet. So you're more than 200%, adding more than 200% of building to the property in order to make this work.
Right, they're renovating the existing space and then adding an additional structure for the dormitory for the children.
And the drawing you sent also adds a new gym facility for 41. So that feels like a pretty significant expansion of the current property, which actually specifically does increase density. Like if you're adding like a couple more, like if you're adding dorm space there. So for me, like there is, you know, significant changes to the site that looks like have to be made in order to make this work, including, oops, what's going on, sorry. Including some construction on a steep slope, right? So the
Right.
dorm is actually like halfway on like a fairly steep slope
Right.
itself, right? Which is gonna take significant investigation on the part of the site plan approval and things like that. So I'm like not sure that even if everything is a yes, like that's, I'm not gonna find, let's say,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Would you be keeping the historic home aspect of it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so the existing building.
They're gonna keep the historic that they had. That building hasn't been in great shape for decades. Nobody's been taken. We just went through that scenario on 34th Bay Street for 25 years. So I think everybody has the intention, but I just want to remind the trustee what in reality ends up happening if this sort of.
No, fully aware. I'm just curious what their plan.
Their intention, I think, is,
it is.
but also the commentary about density, I think that was the ocean.
But that's what I'm calling out, right? Like, so it's like you're
A
adding,
huge increase.
it's a huge increase in square footage. And parking and sleeping space and, you know, from that perspective, right?
And the parking space will all be contained within the premises, and there's not gonna be any overflow onto the streets.
Well, of course not.
No, but, you know, but then also you're taking over, I don't know. That's the whole point of the moratorium is to look at the
Yes.
zoning requirements related and the T-zone related to coverage and, you know, flow and impervious coverage. So you're adding a significant amount of impervious coverage where there was green space, right? So from that perspective, so it's just something that like I said, that's a site plan zoning question here, but, and then, yeah, just in terms of, is it 100% residential students?
It will be, that's all that.
And you say that the workforce is drawn, 200 people are drawn from the region, the workforce. What do you
We
determine
have,
as a region?
I would say most of our, staff now come from Westchester County, you know, the.
So not necessarily local, it's all
Well,
private.
it's generally, I would think that, you know, people, who like working near where they live, you know, with traffic, yes, I mean, but.
You know, they can't guarantee employment.
With the number like this, constant, there's turnover and there's opportunities, there'll be notices going out. And I think it'd be convenient for local residents to make applications there and find opportunity for sure.
I'm sure they'll make the best effort. And they need specialists, so you just, anybody.
You have to say, especially if the there, we have, the best, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of specialized skills that
Yeah,
don't necessarily.
It's 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
The place is open and active 24/7. Well, there was a nursing home for a long time, right? I'm sorry? There was a nursing home for a long time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, they use it similar.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Similar, but the living area expanded.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad.
It includes
But that nursing home went
a
under.
residential component.
Right, yeah, the nursing home went under, and that's, I think, also a concern. That's one of the, while the nursing home industry has skyrocketed when we started, that one went under, so.
Yeah.
But it's similar in the fact that it's a live-in facility and you can specialists and it's 24 hours a day and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because as a working facility, for me, the number gets to, if it's 200 people, 200 staff and 75 students, like the number for me is like they're, over the course of a day, they're close to 300 people there on that site. Right? But, you know,
No, they're in shifts.
well, they're on shifts, but,
We don't have 200 people a day,
well, you've got 200 workers
we have to.
in 3 shifts. So,
But not,
Right.
we have 200 total employees, but they don't all work, at the same time, they don't all
Right.
work every day. So it's just that at the total, the number of FTEs I can get you, which would be, you know, more accurate.
well, that's planning, you know, that's, you know, for that, right? But so for me, so I'm just trying to, in my head, I'm trying to get a sense of, impact to village resources. Water, sewer, traffic. You know, the residential neighborhood component of it, you know, from that perspective, right? And, you know, fire, right? You're adding significant large residential building, you know, within the village construct. And so, you know, so for me, I'm just trying to get a sense of those impacts from a village perspective, right? Which is why I'm counting like number of people, things like that.
So if it were the same size as the nursing home, it would be similar, you know, I mean, but because they're actually making it much bigger. The whole, it's a low residential area, and it's always been, but 90 years ago when we built the nursing home, that residential area is probably not as.
Not anywhere near as dense.
But I mean, still a residential area.
It's a very old area.
Yeah, it's still, yeah, I live by there, I mean, it's still a residential,
Like,
middle residential.
a potential pilot program would also help out with the village and any additional costs that could be incurred as a result of this project.
But I don't know what that means, what does that mean? Do you know? You don't know what that means, do you
Is
know
this
what that means?
organization a nonprofit or is it a for-profit?
No, it's not.
Nonprofit.
Okay, so a pilot meaning payment in lieu of taxes.
Right.
Taxes are zero.
But taxes
No,
would be
no.
exempt.
No, but we would voluntarily pay for any increase in obviously water and police or fire, any increase in.
We can pay equal to the property taxes, it's allowable expense under the state guidelines for our funding.
The state would reimburse for that
They
amount.
reimburse it 100%.
So even though technically not required to pay taxes, through the pilot, they could pay an amount equal to what the taxes would be.
They understand that
There's additional resources being utilized, so.
Well,
Is that in perpetuity or is that, I mean, like, in what segments of time is that funding committed?
As far as I know, the state would continue to pay that, as long as they're at that location.
But it's a budget line.
I'm sorry?
It's a budget line in the state budget.
Yes, but it's built into our rate, so our rates are set by the agencies that provide them, so OCFF, for, like I said, about the national piece, which is the larger piece. of
But it would be subject to budget approval at the state level, so it's not guaranteed. But
Yes, but
It's guaranteed in the way that all state funding right now is
right,
guaranteed,
exactly.
just to say it's
Yeah.
It's not.
Yes,
Yeah.
they,
Yes.
like I said, they can't attend public school areas of the public school, place them with, you know, store guards. We had to agree, as part of the project, you know, the development of the project, that we will operate the school for 40 years. So, you know, I can give you that as a timeframe. I would assume it would operate long past that, but I certainly won't be there. But that is what they're, you know, that's what they're asking, so.
You have to just look into it. I worked at a place that was managed, and that's not what happened. Villages and cities, Yonkers as a city is very different. So, but it may be that there's that, we just not had that as, and we have a bunch of nonprofits here. That do this, so we'll just,
Yeah, like,
I'm sure it's black and white. I'm sure
I
there's a
do
law
know,
somewhere.
I do know.
We can look into it.
Directly with the pilot, there is a tax certiorari proceeding now with regard to the current owner. And it's very close to being settled in terms of an assessment for that property now, because it's been vacant. So it's basically, they set an assessed value based on that. So this is different because it would change all the numbers,
yeah.
but that's.
Okay, but it's like it's a
But-
deal,
but it's
we
up
should
for
just
it.
know
No,
about
it's
it.
not.
See if we can
It'd
contact.
be interesting to look into, sure.
Yeah, and we'll see what we can do from our end in terms of contacting the appropriate state agencies to see if they can give us something.
No, it's okay, right, I mean, it just, like, for me, this is much more around,
Yeah,
like, the process is gonna work its way through, like, that you've gotta. As, you know, as council has mentioned, there's a complete application. So the process has to happen, right? And it will, and then, so this is just helping me wrap my head around the decisions that have to get made,
right,
you know, after the public hearing and things like that. From that perspective, right? It just gives us some time to think about it and ask questions, think about the questions that are relevant to the decision.
which is the actual purpose of a moratorium, frankly.
Right, so.
Okay, you had some questions?
Yes, so welcome
Thank you.
and good evening, and thank you for your patience
No
for
problem.
sitting around for a couple of hours. Thankfully, it was action packed,
It was,
so.
yeah, it was actually.
Yeah, I saw y'all paying close attention, trying to work on it. Yeah. So, my colleague asked a lot of great detailed questions, and so I wanted to touch on one that hasn't been brought up yet, which is the issue of precedents. So one of the topics that often comes up for us when we're looking at an exemption like this, when it comes to moratorium, is does it create a precedent for us to have to then deal with? So I would love to hear your response. What makes this particular application different from others that may come to us in the future?
I think this is an extremely unique piece of property. I think any other property that may come up before the board of trustees, where you have to make a similar evaluation, it's gonna be hard to correlate the same circumstances that this was used, how it was used in the past in a similar fashion, both as a nursing home and a school. And there's similarities there that I think are gonna be unique to this property and not some other property that may be faced, that the board may have to face. I think the location, the moratorium, is not a village-wide moratorium, right? It's on a specific location area on a map, I think.
Zoning district,
Zoning district.
It's a zoning, that's what
So
we
it's
do.
everything, for everything in the T zone.
which is scattered,
Which is
sort of village.
across the village.
Right.
It's not a site specific.
Okay, so, you know, I think it's unique, on the property itself, it's unique, and I don't think you'll find a similar situation, property in that respect.
Very helpful. I'd love to hear about any efforts that you've made to hear from community members about the potential impact of this project.
I've been to the location, I've been to the site, and I've driven around, and I'm familiar with the community and the neighborhood. I have not knocked on any doors to see what their opinions are. But I'd be happy to do that if you think that add value to our application.
That would be helpful. If nothing else, then often what succeeds you, once folks hear about it is then folks in the community coming to us with questions and concerns. I'm curious then, are there any kind of changes that you're looking to make to the property that you think you would anticipate complaints as a result, whether it's the construction or, you know, any kind of changes in the actual?
I think other than the typical complaints you get from construction going on, I don't, you know, I'm sure they're gonna follow all procedures that would require, noise mitigation, vibration mitigation, whatever the code requires, they're gonna be in compliance with that. But I don't anticipate anything, I don't anticipate any complaints about, parking, and I'm sure the landscaping is gonna be beautified, to a point where people are gonna notice an improvement to the whole site, because right now it's really run down. And it's being used as a parking lot with a bunch of trucks and utility vans in there, which is, I think, an eyesore to the local community. And I think although there'll be some pain point for when the development work is being done, I think once that's done, the beautification to the whole location is gonna be a plus to the neighborhood. And you're not gonna have, and you're not putting up apartment buildings there where you got people coming and going and in that situation. You're really gonna have, you know, children living there and the staff separating over the course of the day, 3 different shifts. I don't think it's gonna be like a drop off of school in the morning where buses crowd the streets and block up and making it impossible to pass. That's not gonna happen here, and I think that's definitely a plus for this application.
What happens if you don't get this application to go through?
Well, this is a moratorium, so our application is to fit into an exemption. If we don't get the moratorium, then we'll see when the application is, when the moratorium is lifted. I understand that should be done in the next month or two. But then I understand there's an option or a right to extend that for an additional 4 months. So I guess we'll have to weigh our options at that particular time. I mean, I know there's other processes that we could follow, but you know, we're optimistic that this would be a huge plus to the community, and it'd be the Ferncliff would be a good neighbor, and it'd be a good addition to Ossining, I think.
Yeah, but just so I'm clear, if the hardship exemption isn't approved, is your sense that the project wouldn't happen?
We would comply with whatever the law says. If the exemption is not approved, then we would have to stand by to see if and when the moratorium is lifted, and then proceed at that point. We're committed. We've got AG approval, which is a huge hurdle, and we're you know, 30, 60 days from a closing date. So we're optimistic. We think it's a huge plus to the village, and it's an excellent location, and it'll be a nice fit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, just so you know, the moratorium currently expires on July 13th. Effective May the 12th, the board could entertain a local law to extend it by up to 4 months. But under the law also, the board could at any time determine that it wants to basically end the moratorium.
Thank you.
So would this facility replace the Younghurst facility?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it would take you a few years to get it ready.
Sure.
If it's any, I did do a little, neighborhood feedback. They had a neighbor who was directly across the street from the parking lot where the home truck. And she said, well, I prefer that to like a developer coming in and building an apartment building. So we had, you know, we've heard from these residents recently, and, you know, they feel their neighborhood's gotten very crowded. And that parking has become very difficult. So if you can assuage those concerns, Um. You know, it's gonna be a big facility, and it's gonna use a lot of resources, and it's gonna put pressure on the village as well.
And that's where the Franklin would be amenable to a pilot program, which basically covers the taxes that would cover the additional resources or services that the village would be providing to that location.
So I want to just ask, so I don't have a lot of questions. I met with another executive director who's not any longer, a whole set of attorneys that are no longer on this project, a board that is different than what it was about a year ago, and so is the staff. So there's been a big changeover, in this, relationship, so I've asked a lot of questions, but I don't have a whole bunch, of questions. You guys have met as a part of what, trustee Elizabeth was about timeline. When did the conversation start with this organization, corporation, and nonprofit organization?
I couldn't say without looking back, I was not a part of this pre-application meeting, but I believe it was somewhat recent. The formal pre-application meeting with the planning department was somewhat recent.
I don't think I was involved with that.
Okay,
Another law firm was, you've been on this, how long?
For 4 or 5 months.
The pre-op happens while the subsequent to the more.
the moratorium was in place when the pre-app meeting happened, but if you need an exact date, I would have to correct.
Right, that's, I mean, I think that was because I spent an hour at one point on the phone with the, I don't know if she's still there. She and her husband, I think,
retired.
partly because she told me she was gonna retire.
Yeah.
She and her husband started many, many years ago, she's there for a long time. So, and I think, is this one corporation or two
So
corporations?
it's two corporations, that have, worked together for quite some time. Because this school is very, very old, so the incorporation happened a very long time ago, and, so it's always been just a regular corporation. In order to do this, we have to be, a nonprofit with approval from the state, so we had to go through that process to get that. So that started actually in 1986. You know, when we said we've been looking for a home for, a long time, it's really been a very long time. But I just, it's challenging to kind of, because it's so long and there's so much intertwined stuff, but it is, what's happening is that we are taking over the operation of the school program, but it's all the same people. We've just, been operating in like two silos, basically, you know, just to keep.
So do you have one board of directors or two board of directors?
There's one board of directors for Brooklyn County Incorporated that has been in place since, well, I mean, with, you know, changes, obviously, since 1986. But the, other is, it's really not a board of directors, because it's like two people, like a president and a secretary. That's very, for the amount of actual revenue and work that's done, it was very tightly held. And it, you know, he continues to do that now at this point, but we're not taking over that corporation. We're taking over the operation of the school as promised through the state education department and OCFS. And that is, where where it gets a little bit strange, because we're not taking like everything, we're back taking our tax ID number, all that stuff. That's all, you know, their liabilities are gonna be no liabilities. We're going to just be taking this operation over. But again, we have a lot of redundancy in staff, so it's all really the same people. So. You know,
So part of sort of interest is who we're talking to,
right.
who's the entity, who makes decisions, because the attorneys before you said things different than what you're saying, behaved differently, spoke to staff totally differently. This idea of this tax thing is the first time I'm personally hearing about it, never heard of it before. I worked actually at a very similar type of scenario, and this is sort of new, and not that long ago, news to me. So sort of interested in how this works. But who make decisions, and a lot of these places go belly up. It doesn't matter that the state refunds. The state takes like a year or 2 years to refund money. You gotta meet all your square footage per child, the ratios, the easements, the windows, the size of the windows. These are really complicated buildings.
Yes.
I spent 2 years of my life looking for space in down county. It's a lot and it's expensive and it requires a lot of upfronting. And so who the board is in nonprofit actually matters, because there's like, how do you get the actual money? And as we saw this year, when the government decides they don't have money, they just don't pay. I can tell you many nonprofits who aren't getting paid because the federal government gives to state to county, county to the, you know, it's like and we don't want people to go broke. And we need to sort of, it's not a for-profit, if you don't succeed, you don't succeed, you're out. Nonprofits are a little trickier, and when you start building, but you can't finish building, because it's such a complicated environment, you know, the community suffers for it, frankly, in a very big way. So, yeah, there have been hard part there, why? Because the nonprofit before didn't maintain the place. That's what that happened, even when they're responsible to do stuff, you know. So we try to sort of think through, because if you lived here and somebody came and wanted to build something, you ask the same exact questions. We represent the people. I am curious though, if the staff has anything to add, because there were things here that are, you know, but I think we've had some good questions. Maddie, are there any other things that you guys have?
Not at this time,
Still,
I will get
anything that we
to the
need to
board
know
about that.
about that maybe we didn't ask some questions, but the public hearing will be really the opportunity. This isn't really supposed to be the time and place. It's
Nothing further this time, Mayor.
Okay, you're good? Okay, fabulous. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And what is your role, sir? I know these two folks and your role is?
I'm her brother.
Your, I mean,
I'm a 30-year resident of Ossining and.
okay,
You would put, give your name for the record.
Willing
but he
to,
doesn't have to. It's a word. It's not a legislative session. He doesn't have to. But are you involved?
Yeah.
No, are you involved in this?
no,
entity?
so this entity was my parents' entity. They're the ones that have been running it since the '70s.
So the,
And prior to that was my grandmother. She's the one that started.
okay,
So
okay,
I've been working on and off there my entire life now.
got it. But are you on the board or are you?
No, I
Oh,
was on the
you're
board
just the
for
person
5 years.
that
I'm
his
just here
family
for
goes
some moral support.
Got it, excellent, well, nice to see
Which is
you,
always
meet
good.
you. Actually, did you know that this is the family? Somebody told me.
I did not know that.
Oh, so I was on the phone with somebody discussing this and they actually knew your family. That's right.
Uh-oh.
No, all nice things, all nice things. Oh, they've been around for a long time. Wow, okay. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much
All
for
right.
your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Have a great night.
You can stay.
Yeah, you can stay if you wanna talk about capital fund changes.
It is really important. Hang on, let's go through and see how far we get.
Okay.
There's some things that we do wanna talk about.
Sorry.
We get in,
Let them get away.
the budget adjustment, the, couple things, we have resolutions next week, so just we can get through them.
Okay.
So we'll let Dale now talk about the adjustments.
Okay, so, the memo that was submitted, went out on Friday, last Friday, I believe.
Yes.
Which touches on, basically 2025. The majority of the village department stayed within budget, with a few budget adjustments required to fund over expended department item categories outside of the department's budget. So basically, at your end, I'll go through and if the department as a whole can move money within itself, then I do straight budget adjustments and clean it up. At the point that the department cannot clean up within its own department, that's when I then submit an actual budget adjustment to the board, and that is what is contained in this memo. To touch on who needs one and sometimes who does not, the police department needs a budget adjustment due to posting the 2025 retro payroll and updating salaries for contract settlement late 2025. That the village had budgeted the majority in the contingency fund. for 2025. So we're moving $717,300 to the personal regular line in the police department, and $592,000 to the police overtime line. 1,246,882 will come from contingency, so is budgeted. And then the additional amount needed of $62,418 will come from the workers' comp benefit line, which was under expended about $140,000 at year end. The Department of Public Works did not require a budget adjustment at year end. They were able to clean up all their lines within themselves. And they ended the year $117,000 under budget for their department lines. The building department, which had savings recognized from unfilled positions, had utilized the savings towards contractual inspections to support the department at year end, and requires a budget adjustment of $15,600 to the safety inspection consulting line. But this account has covered amount, which is going to carry forward in to 2026 of $29,307. So even though we're a little over budget at the end of 2025, which we're cleaning up, you're bringing that money forward to continue and complete, hopefully.
It's just encumbered money, not spent money.
Right, right. So it will move forward and it increases the budget now for 26 for the additional expenses as we go forward. If there's additional encumbrance left at the end of 2026 and we still need the services, then that money will then increase the budget for 2027. So you never actually lose the money to the, point. If there's a balance left, we liquidate the encumbrance and the amount then goes back into the line and eventually goes to fund balance if it's not used. So while we need to increase the budget 15,600, you're really bringing over 129,000 from last year's budget into this year. If that makes sense. Okay. The fire department did very well. They ended the year 60,870 under expended. We did have some cleanup items within the fire department for repair and maintenance of equipment. We had to cover physician fees, but that was due to changing their provider. So we knew during the year that those costs were going to increase. The reason that they stayed under budget by that amount for the majority of it is because we still funded for radio repairs as we do every year, but they did just do a big radio project. So now we saved because we paid the money for a radio project, but we didn't now have any repairs to go against the expenditure.
I'm gonna go home tonight. My husband just paid a lot of taxes in New York. I'm gonna say how much money I'm saving him by shopping. That's gonna be my new.
There you go, yes.
That's gonna be my new thing, cause
Yeah.
that's what you're telling me.
Another area that they ended not expending the full budget on, and again, makes sense, was maintenance and repair buildings and grounds. But that's because we opened the capital project
Right.
for the firehouse improvements
Yeah,
as well. So that then reduced them expending from their own budget because now these items were actually
They're
getting
paid
paid
for it.
for through the capital project.
we're shopping.
Yes, yes, and that also factored in on the OSHA compliance line as well.
Yeah.
So that was the major point why they actually ended up being over budget, under budget. It's not that they didn't buy the equipment they needed or
No, we
kept up with their training or, it's not for any of those reasons. It's really for the practical reasons of that we have bigger expenses really that could even be absorbed within their budget and then went with capital projects in order to succeed. So, Next is the Parks Recreation Department. They had a very productive fiscal year for revenues with total budgeted revenues for the department of $1,653,115, exceeded by $373,611.76. I fell lost to 76 at year end. They were over budget, but of course, because you had more programs, more revenue, well, now you have more expense. So we're gonna clean up, their, over expenses of youth program instructors, for $18,760. We're going to offset that with an increase to, the revenue line of youth swim classes. Art center instructors, $66,910. We're going to increase the revenue line for, art center program revenues by $63,698. And then the offset of $3,212 again from the youth swim classes. Parks repair and maintenance of parks facilities exceeded budget by $34,988. This is actually attributed to the new fountain at Reservoir Park that we put in last year. With the fountain and the electrical work, the total for that fountain ended up for that project in itself was $36,704. So we're going to increase the park and recreation revenue line.
It's a little more than that, right? Because there's the installation and all that.
That was with the installation.
That was total.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
So we're going to utilize our revenue account to offset the expenditure.
Okay.
Youth Bureau, anticipated budget for personnel was based on current programs, number of employees, not at the time of the budget process, but with opportunities presenting themselves during the fiscal year to increase program capacity, as in the case with the youth employment program. Budget adjustment to increase the part-time expenditure line by $8,680 for the Youth Bureau and increasing the state grant revenues line by the same amount to offset. Corporation Council's budget, of course, this is your across every fund. General water and sewer. General fund expenses were under budget by $162,896 at year end. With the material amounts under budget for special legal services, so that's labor special counsel, by $176,274, aiding in offsetting the overages in special legal services, so that's our regular litigation line. So we moved some money to clean up within Stewart's department for $79,759. Tax mortuary claims, we did not hit the budget amount of $75,000. We had $13,353 left at year end. Water fund expenses, though, for special legal services and contractual are over budget because we did charge the one case that was associated with water to the water fund, but we didn't budget for it. But we have plenty in order to cover the overage, and in doing that, it requires a budget adjustment, so that will also be in the works. The general and water fund expenditures for insurance premium lines were over budget due to we did the builder's risk insurance for the multimodal project. And then the Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant project and premium increases were higher than anticipated. So again, we're going to cover the general fund from the workers' comp benefit line that we did not expend. So that's going to increase the general fund expense line. And then the water fund has contingency funds to cover the over expended line of $24,400. The next paragraph touches on what I had spoken a little about earlier about the debt service fund interest earning revenues. Afford the ability for the village to redeem $526,088 in outstanding bands in the fiscal year but now requires a budget adjustment to increase the debt service interfund
Just
transfers.
because I'm mindful of the time, could you give us the places where things don't mesh? If it's basically debit credit thing, like
Mhm.
everything we discussed, but now we're doing the adjustments. Not, I mean, if we saw the first part of the presentation,
Mhm.
don't need this, except, you know, it's informational,
Yes.
obviously. Unless there's some serious like red flags that is large enough to crack or, but
No,
if it's just a dividend credit,
It's
T,
just-
yeah,
T
it's just debit-
square
debit and credit.
accounting, then I
Yeah.
think we're okay.
Yes,
It all nets out.
it all that's out.
So if there's something we should notice as a prize, that's whatever. then- Well, it's like a T square, I needed
But,
stuff.
but at the end of the day,
Mhm.
I mean, the
Yes,
first
we
part
are.
of the
We have to pass
presentation
through it.
was the information. This is just adjustments to the information, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I think we
Yeah.
can move to whatever else you would like to share with us, big picture.
We did fully expend our ARPA funds, so we're doing the resolution, to move that money finally now over to capital, because you cannot move it to capital, you actually use it. Section 8 program, just a small, from their fund balance to make our HAP balance, equal the amount at the end of the year. Sewer fund is, taking money from contingency to cover the, slight over expenditure in our, property tax paying line, of $4,630. We're looking into that. The 2024 Spring Street lead service line replacement, that we originally budgeted for 114,100. We actually went over budget by 21,682.40. They did a little additional work when they were out there in the field, so that increased it. So we are doing a transfer from the water fund over to the capital fund to feed that. We had previously done a budget adjustment for, the improvements to the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center, project, but now we're submitting a final adjustment because it actually was too much anyway, and we're going to close the project, and get that out of our docket. And then the water fund, which has received the $1,431,630 in the PFAS settlement. We are transferring over to the capital fund, so we do not lose it. Doesn't get absorbed.
Oh
into
geez,
the
I thought that
water
was
fund.
done already, okay.
No, we're gonna move it over to the capital fund. We are calling it the 2025 Water Infrastructure Improvements Project.
Okay.
Very general, so that we are able to
Good
utilize
news.
it as the board sees fit. And that is it.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
bravo. Couple of other, things that will be on, next
Next
week.
week.
So, we were talking about the Route 9 safety enhancements, the Red Eye project. Because the DOT has increased, the scope of the project. Specific to the design portion, is increasing, it's increasing $50,000. So in order to, that money will be covered by the, DOT, but they want to see that we have made the, adjustment in fund balance, to the budget so that we have the cash flow. So originally, the original design estimate was $394,000. It's now $444,000. So there'll be a resolution, allocating $50,000 from fund balance to, this project. So that then we can then draw down against it, but that money would not be paid by us, it would be paid by, the DOT. So that resolution will be on, for next week. And then, and you should have, gotten a copy of the draft resolution in the packet, so if you have any questions on that. And the other resolution that's specific to a grant is, we applied for an EXC grant, and got a $50,000 grant, let's make sure I have the right numbers, because I'm looking now. Okay, so, the total grant award was, well, the total project amount was $50,000, and it consists of $40,000 in reimbursement from the, Environmental Facilities Corporation and a $10,000 village commitment.
It's 50,000
50 and 10.
awarded, and then 10 is village,
Okay, I'm sorry.
so it's 60,000. For the
60,000
total,
project,
total
10,000
project.
village funds.
yes,
Okay, that's, okay,
yes,
$60,000,
Yes.
excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm reading,
yes, I sent an email.
I know, but I'm reading somebody else's email, so, okay, but anyway, needless to say, it's $50,000 grant, $10,000 match. And this is for a study that, we're doing on, it's a stormwater study, the town is doing a similar study. Their grant is, I think, maybe a little less, but their match is the same. And it really is to, make sure that, various, studying the Kill and a bit of Sparta Brook, to see if, any infrastructure improvements are needed. This is studies that we typically do anyway, and we do allocate about $100,000 a year for that work as it comes up, so these are like sewer line breaks. In some cases, it's not private, maybe it might be, somebody sewer line or backfill isn't created. But the idea is that, we'll conduct the study, we'll make sure that there are no contaminants, no sewer contaminants in the, Kilbrook and Sparta Brook, and, if there are, we would address them, with money that is already, encumbered, for, in the capital sewer fund. If there was something extreme, we probably can allocate money from the general fund, but, we don't necessarily anticipate anything like that, because we keep a good eye on our stuff, but this is just to make sure that, there's no major leaks. So that is another resolution, for that grant as well, for the village match.
Okay. What else?
The only other thing that requires.
Well, there are two local laws, we'll put them off to another work session,
Okay.
because it'll take me a while to explain.
Okay.
One thing I do want to ask the board to get direction from the board. Next week, there will be a resolution with regard to the cannabis regulations. But there's also the moratorium by Grand Peconic Ventures. The question is, what do you want to do? Because the exemption is what I meant, I apologize. Because if the local law is adopted next week, it will likely be on the books within a week. Just sue it very quickly, doing it, they turn around quickly. You could basically determine that their application is effectively now moot, because you've actually now got a determination. And if that's fine, I just want to get a direction from the board, because I want to do some resolution to indicate what the board wants to do with their application.
So I'm gonna say what I think we agreed on in majority, and then somebody's gonna correct me. Okay, so that I just put it out there. I thought that what the board and majority agreed to do is that this exemption that they're asking the cannabis, that we will give them, that we will give that to them. And the other stuff in that legislation, they think is still part of the moratorium. Like, to me, it was like we split it into two pieces. A yes on one and no on the other, so like a continuance on the other, so is that not what we said last time we
Well,
all?
once the local laws passed regarding the regulations.
Yeah.
The moratorium ends.
Yeah.
So they will no longer need a hardship
They would not-
exemption, so it depends on in what order you
But
got.
that's what I'm basically
So,
saying.
so you're saying it's the order?
Well, the gentleman last week indicated that he would like to get the exemption granted in the event that for some reason there's a delay in filing the local law. Because if it's
I
granted,
understand that.
if it's granted, they could immediately go to the planning.
And that's your point of why Sue does it pretty quickly, so you're not really worried that.
Well, I can give you an example. The local laws that you adopted 2 weeks ago, Sue mailed them out on Thursday, they were filed Friday.
All right, so generally speaking, a week to 10 days, therefore it's a moot point, is what I'm hearing you say. Not that we can legally say that we guarantee you we'll have this done in 5 days, but it's a week to 2 weeks, like.
My point is that if both come before the board next week, which they will, the legislation, if approved by the board, it's certainly conceivable that by the 17th, if not by the 20th, will be filed. And that will effectively end the moratorium, and then they could proceed because that zoning district would be allowed. I just want to be able to put something into a resolution. It's the sense of the board to basically say, by virtue of passing this is now essentially rendered
I
moot.
get
I
that.
can do that.
But what happened to part 2 that we added on later about vaping and the.
Well, that's all in the local law. That's already in there.
Okay.
That all stands.
So that all stays.
All right,
That's there.
so I sort of had it 75% correct.
Yeah,
That's where we're coming out on this.
Passing grade.
It's a passing grade. I'm a grown up. I don't need to get A's anymore. I'm not trying to get into anything else.
And also, if we
Is that
have
what
the
everybody
sense,
understood? Yeah,
So,
so,
so I'm gonna start with the back first, but that's my understanding of the law.
okay,
That the law is was to be passed. I'm not inclined to offer to approve the exemption
okay.
for multiple reasons. One being the precedent question. And the second being for me, like, this was brought on by themselves. There were public hearings on the zoning moratorium prior to them signing the lease. So for me, that was a self-made issue.
Your concept in life is if you create the problem, the fact that you now have a financial issue is totally on you, not my problem, because you didn't do what you're supposed to do. All right, I get that. Anyone else? I mean.
But
no,
I
don't
agree,
know how
I
Bob
agree,
is
I agree, it's a
thinking.
moot point, right? So for me.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you
It's-
deny it because it's gonna
Yeah,
get,
yeah, but I
the
totally,
moratorium will be dropped
my only
once this
question,
law is passed.
yeah, my only question is there a legal requirement that we act on the public hearing?
Yes. You have to make a decision. So you could deny it, and then in essence, the denial doesn't really mean, you could deny it. But by law, by the code, you have to make a decision on that. Once, you have to do it, I think, within 20 days of the close of the public hearing, whatever it is.
Right.
It's gotta be a decision made.
Okay,
So
so,
your decision could be that it's rendered moot by virtue of this board passing
The other
the new
piece,
local law. That's the decision.
I think that's the way to do it.
that would make you happy.
That's the way to do it.
Because you're making a precedent case, so if somebody comes up 6 months and they go, no, that's not what happened. We actually passed law, that law covered, it made it a moot point as stated in our meeting notes, so
So that can be done.
whatever. I think he's looking for, I don't wanna set the precedent, no, these guys, no, these guys, no, 15 other people that are gonna tell us. I didn't know, I changed lawyers, because if you guys spend an hour telling me, I didn't know. I'm a lawyer, but I didn't know. Okay, does that work for people? That works.
Okay.
I did follow, by the way, again, with Tarrytown, they are very happy with and they have pushback. They push back, they're happy with the cannabis in the middle of their town, they're behaving well, that doesn't mean these guys will, I think these guys from St. Gallery, from what I'm hearing, but. What I'm hearing doesn't matter, what matters is, proof is in the pudding, once it happens, blah, 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 we'll see what goes on.
could I add one thing?
Please.
If it's all right with the board and it sounds like we know what direction we're headed.
And if you disagree, you should say so.
I do not. The planning department can start working with their team to get the application ready for the next meeting deadline so that they don't lose any time. So we can reach out to them tomorrow and just say, because the meeting deadline for the May meeting is the 30th.
As long as that doesn't put anybody else out, because to trustee Yo's point, these people brought it on themselves.
Yeah.
This is bent over backward for people who didn't do it correctly in the first place, and then, like, if there are other people waiting online, we better not be pushing anybody out of the way for this.
Yeah, 'cause
There's
it's-
no line in your book.
Yeah, because and there is not the same, but like a similar situation with the dispensary that was approved at the north end of the village. Right, they couldn't get a permit because of something that existed. Right, so it's a similar kind of a,
Yeah,
right?
because part of what we do is set precedents as deputies and that's a very big deal, which is why their attorney did the entire presentation, not only said who keeps changing his story every time I hear, every single time. I don't know if you have the same experience with them, and the other attorneys, I think, good, so I don't. Look, I know we're recording this, I am angry with a lot of conversations, and we gotta get it together for a public meeting.
Okay. All right, so, right now, we will push off the 2 local laws, for a future work session. And it's we are going to call for adjournment.
Oh, we have to make it clear that there's a 5th Wednesday, but we are meeting on it.
Yeah.
Forgot,
Yeah, we are.
It's on the
Yeah,
calendar.
I'm sorry.
I may not be able to be there.
We didn't meet on the first one.
We didn't meet.
I didn't see you were,
I know, I don't have it in my calendar either, but we were. I may have to also.
I will not be here next
Oh, we
week.
may not have a form. Oh, for next week.
Next week.
Oh, okay.
I
Has
will
the
not be
meeting
here
been
next week.
adjourned?
Yes,
Yes.
Amy, thank you.
Okay, thank you, I didn't hear.